TLJ, I got the feeling that like his movie kind of ended before Crate, and Crate was somebody else's idea tacked on, because all of a sudden Luke's good, and Rey is way more of a Mary Sue than she's ever been in the rest of the movie. It's got this positive ending in the way that Ryan's is more negative and nihilistic.
Oh God, let's not try and talk about Star Wars too much. We have to go into this video
yeah.
now. I know.
Oh yeah.
All right, well, let's get going.
It's a shame Shining couldn't make it.
I know he
was the one that originally voted for this.
Yeah.
No, I get it though.
Okay.
He voted. I think he voted for this before today, and it was just left on. Yeah. I think that voting might actually go better if we all had like 3 picks, so that way, you do your like primary, which one you want to do, and then if you see somebody else's and be like, oh, I wouldn't mind that one either. So that way we're not having, because when it's all those choices and you only get 1 pick, then you might you're just like, I think people tend to not vote at all. But if they had more votes to spread out, we might get more voting. It's just an idea.
Yeah, I gotta revise the list every time. It changes every day, so I have to probably make a 3rd list. And you can vote on both lists. I don't really care. I just want people to know what they're doing and that they're interested. Because not everyone wants, like, Glib doesn't always pop in. That's fine. Anyway, let's get going. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Smudcast number 111. And we are looking at the alt-right playbook, how to normalize or radicalize a normie. And this is by, I don't know the person's name. The YouTuber is Innuendo Studios. This is a 1.2 million view video. Came out 11 months ago. And this is news to me. We don't really cover this sort of content. We do, when we do TED Talks, this and that, someone talks politically and we talk about it, that's fine. But this is usually not our regular video. So that's fine. Before we begin, we're supposed to have Jessie Gender on today. She just gave me radio silence for the past 2 weeks, and I've been emailing her, and I've been getting nothing. So I do apologize that we couldn't get her on. And I've gotten feedback from the Goldman on Twitter that he is just too busy to have a discussion with us. So looks like we're not getting anyone on this week or at all from what we thought we were going to get, because they're just too busy with COVID and school and watching Star Trek. So there we have it. And we have another policy in place for super chatting. I know it went a little crazy on Sunday, and I know a lot of people who were in the stream were kind of annoyed because they wanted to go to bed and they wanted to get on with the actual topic at hand. So the way this is going to work is, if you have a super chat on topic, we're going to read it. Okay? That's simple. If we're talking, if you listen to us and you super chat at the same time, boom, we'll pick it up. We will read all super chats in another stream entirely. So we'll just do a catch-up stream or a super chat stream where we'll just read every single one, and that's fine. Additionally, if you do want to have your super chat for whatever reason to pop onto the stream, like you say, no, I still want to have mine read, then there is a Streamlabs link in the comments, the description. You can use that. It's a different way of doing it. It will pop up in our face. We will be forced to see it, and I will be forced to look onto my Streamlabs page and read it there. But that is like, you really, really need to have something said that's off topic or what have you. I'm not going to take that away from you. So this is another option, and I have a different plugin that pops that up for us in the stream. Anyway, this is a 41-minute video. It's going to take some time, so I appreciate everyone for the long haul. And there's an epilepsy warning. I didn't know that. Okay.
I have.
By the way, if you could read the chat right there, or not the our chat.
What's wrong with that?
Pizza in the oven, so I'm ready to go.
All right, let me just share the watch together. Sorry about that. There you go. Well, I like to get options for everyone for super chats, and it was just crazy on Sunday. I had no way to stop it. So thankfully, it's been nice and calm the past 10 minutes. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, let's check the volume levels. Alrighty. Everyone in the watch together? I see one other person.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I am in the watch together.
Alrighty. Let's get going. So, racism, anti-Semitism, sexism, transphobia, fascism, violence, mass shootings, abuse, harassment. Wow, that's a lot of warnings. That's more than a major motion picture. That's a lot of warnings. Well, I'm surprised he got his video uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah.
Say for the sake of argument, your friend Gabe is starting to worry you. Gabe's always been just, a regular guy, not very political. He likes video games, sci-fi, comics, Star Wars, and anime. White guy shit. The only
White guy shit.
Wait, whoa.
Who's the racist now, sir? Holy shit.
Yes. Thanks.
First 10 seconds, this guy's a racist. Holy shit. Just say geeky stuff.
I know that Asians tend to view anime as more just like regular cartoons, and they have a very similar outlook that our mainstream sees our cartoons, right? So they may not like it, but it is from Asian cartoons are from Asia, right? So it might appeal to them, to say that anime is white guy specific.
Right.
It's kind of extreme.
Yeah.
Beat thing about him, suspect there's like a 20% chance he's a furry. For all intents and purposes, Gabe is a normie. But
where is this coming from? And his sexual preferences are male and female. Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir, for your insight. Aye.
But recently, Gabe spending a lot of time on some radically conservative forums and listening to radically conservative podcasts and picking some radically conservative arguments.
I don't know what those are, and I don't know these forums. Maybe they exist, but okay. How would you know this, sir?
Could you maybe go back just a tad?
Sure.
Maybe just yeah.
But recently, Gabe's been spending a lot of time on some radically conservative forums and listening to radically conservative podcasts and picking some radically conservative arguments with you and your friends. You never would have expected this, not from Gabe. And given the speed it's happened, it's worrying to think where it might be headed. How have the alt-right gotten their hooks into your friend? If you've ever known a Gabe, this video's for you. Here's how to radicalize a normie. Step 1, identify the audience. What you need to know before we begin is around 2013, the Nazis went online. Hate groups in the U.S. as tracked by the Southern...
Okay, now there are lots of hate groups, and some of them are actually Nazi groups in America. You're allowed to do this. You're legally allowed to do whatever group you want within reason. I'm
pretty sure there was a home for all radical groups online in the 90s, possibly earlier, chat rooms and whatnot. I don't think they just went online in 2013.
Yeah, but these numbers are very small. Like, these groups are pretty tiny. So
yeah, it's only when you broaden the definition that the numbers start jumping to concerned levels.
Poverty Law Center had been growing in number since the Knots, but between 2012 and 2014, they dropped by almost a quarter. Patriot groups dropped by over a third. However, hate crimes stayed about the same. Radical conservatism was not shrinking, but decentralizing. Still radical and still often violent, but now full of white nationalist
Okay, again, I want to know who these violent people are and what have they done, because we've seen plenty of violence in the past few years from Antifa and various other groups doing all sorts of public and private destruction of property and violence to people. So I don't like this general, they're bad because they hurt people. It's like, who are these? There must be names and locations.
Right. And I just kind of put this together, but a little bit back, he grouped patriots in with white nationals. He said that those were the same, that they're of the same ilk, those with high levels of patriotism. That's really concerning.
Yeah, that could be a patriot. Could be anyone who has a differing opinion from the status quo, or is actually the status quo. It's anyone who voices their opinion outward. So,
anyone who loves their country in general,
exactly. Well,
who wants to fight for their country and stand for their country.
I would argue anyone.
But you could be a patriot and stand. You could be a patriot and not be. You could be a patriot and stand in the middle, on the left, or on the right. It's not ideologically based.
Yeah, you could be.
Yeah, it's not unilateral. It's not unilateral across the board.
You could be of any political affiliation. You could be part of the military. You could be part of a religious group. So long as you're voicing your opinion and you're honest about it and you're willing to put yourself out there, to me, you're courageful enough to go out and say, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I believe. That to me is a patriot. Doesn't take much in some cases, but that's a lot to a lot of people to put your face out there and your voice out there. And there's people like us or like me, I just don't care about politics so much. I just make fun of it because it's funny.
Yeah, it's also just like the analogy that I come up with for politics is basically two idiots screaming at each other from either side of a giant chasm with just people like listening vaguely to them.
Yeah. What are we going to do about this chasm? Nothing. I'm going to build a bridge. No, you're wasting materials. Oh, okay.
Nomads unlikely to join a formal organization. This didn't make them harmless. What it did was protect their asses from the typical hate group cycle of getting the public's attention, making allies in conservative media, swelling their numbers, and then eventually disgracing themselves with failures in fighting and, often enough, members committing horrific acts of violence, which come with social and sometimes legal consequences for all the other members. So the alt-right and their fellow travelers these days...
Okay, is Milo...
How has he defined the alt-right?
Alt-right? Exactly? Yeah, he hasn't defined anything yet.
But no, he's just assuming that, you'll agree with him that if you play video games, I guess, do white guy stuff, then, you're very close to the alt-right.
I don't know. I don't think Milo's alt-right.
Don't so much have members. They have hashtags, followers, viewers, and subscribers.
You have this insulates them from
their own audience. If Gabe, as a member of that audience, were to go out and commit a crime on their behalf, there'd be little doubt they had a hand in radicalizing him, but it'd be very hard to claim they told him to do it. On some of these sites where Gabe spends hours and hours of his day, he's never created an account or left a comment. The people radicalizing him don't even know he's there.
Okay, so the assumption is he's just on these forums and he's reading the forums. He's not partaking in any of the discussions, like writing his own opinion down. So if that's the case, how do you know what he's thinking?
Distributed nature is what makes the alt-right and the movements connected to it unique.
You have unread messages.
You may remember
at your private terminal.
Notable proof of concept for this strategy. Doing almost everything online has, as compared with traditional hate movements, dramatically increased their reach and inoculated them from consequence. The trade-off is a lack of control. And so we come to Gabe. Gabe exists at the intersection of the kinds of people the alt-right is looking for, straight white cis men who feel emasculated by modern society.
Wait, what? You said that rather quickly.
Yeah. It's just...
Basically,
no proof for that. Just, I'm right. This is the truth. There's a lot of original kind of ideas being put forth here.
So it's heterosexual, Caucasian men who are... What is cis again? I can't remember.
Emasculated.
Emasculated?
Cis is just non-trans. Non-trans.
Non-trans, what? Just say man.
It's an abbreviation of a Latin term.
I thought I meant... was it chemistry term?
It's like cis female is like a non-trans female versus and a cis male is just a guy who is sticking with the gender he was assigned at birth.
Okay, well, in chemistry, there's the relation between one molecule and the other molecule. They face each other like a mirror, and trans is like you spin the molecule 180 degrees. So that's some form of isomerism.
They may have the same root. They may have the same root. Yeah. All it means in this context is just non-trans.
Oh my god. Okay, fine.
Primarily, though they do make exceptions, and the kinds of people who are vulnerable to recruitment. Gabe fits the first profile in that he got bullied in high school and often feels he has to hide his nerdy side.
Wow, every guy ever. That's great.
For fear of getting ridiculed. The alt-right also has success with men who can't get laid, or recently got divorced, or feel anxious about an influx of non-white people in their community.
What? Do men have...
Please cite your sources.
Do you have feelings, therefore you're in this group? Like, okay.
Yeah. The danger of doing this kind of, just spouting something out like that as if it's true, is that if you come across someone, or you hear from this guy, this is true, then you meet somebody who got divorced or, is concerned about, has some kind of concern in relation to a colored person, whether or not that's a group. And then you've heard that, you see this, and then you're like, oh my gosh, he's alt-right, right? When you don't understand what goes into these factors, when you just take somebody else's word for it like this, there's no research done on the actual topic, you just jump to conclusion after conclusion.
That's annoying, to say the least.
These things can make one feel like less than the confident white man they are supposed to be. And it's the...
Okay.
Let's go on the argument. Why?
Jeez.
I don't care.
Does he have something against the white man who is cis and heterosexual? I'm gonna get that vibe right now from him, but okay. Let's keep going.
I think it's just kind of like... I think it's just like the privilege argument That's all this is.
It's possible.
It's just like they're privileged and they feel like it's kind of like, yes, like in societally they are kind of, cis white males are privileged above most other races, but that's still like you're stereotyping. And since the alt-right could have people of color in it, and as well, they just possibly are slightly hypocritical about certain beliefs of the alt-right.
I think any categorization you start doing of people based on differences is going to really end poorly, because as soon as you start listing all these differences, you're going to start blaming people for this or that because they're different. There's really no other reason. You were here first. You're taller. You're stronger. You're this or that. It's like, okay, yeah, everyone's different. How does that make me better or worse off than you?
Ever come minoritized. Regarding the second profile, it's important to know that Gabe is not categorically different from you or me. He's a cishet white dude. His
again, these words, cishet white dude.
Problems are not unique. There's not a ton of research into the demography of the alt-right, but there may be a higher than average chance Gabe has a history of being abused or comes from a broken home.
How do you know this? Based on what?
You don't know if that's true of Gabe, he's never said. But most abuse survivors don't become Nazis.
What?
I think this is common sense. Yes,
most abuse
survivors don't become zombies.
They also don't become pirates. They don't become Superman. They don't become dolphins. How's that? Yeah. Oh, great.
Nazis. Things that make people like Gabe recruitable tend to be situational. It happens often during periods of transition, as dramatic as the death of a loved one, or as benign as moving to a new city.
Okay, so you pick up your stuff, you move to a new home or an apartment, you're a Nazi. Is that what you're telling me? You move down the block, you're a Nazi. Like, what the hell?
Things that make people ask big life questions. Gabe has concerns like economic precarity, not knowing his place in a changing world,
Economic
stressful
precarity.
working conditions. In other words, Gabe is suffering under late capitalism, same as everyone.
Wait. What was that? Let's go back.
Like economic precarity, not knowing his place in a changing world, stressful working conditions. In other words, Gabe is suffering under late capitalism, same as everyone.
Okay, all right. So now we can deduce that this person is of the left mindset. They like socialism, or at least some degree of Marxism, and anything that's even marginally, I mean, like fractionally to the right of them is the extreme. That's the only way I can understand this person. So, suffering
much,
from late
He's
capitalism.
like pretty much all of the other. He's like all of the other bread tubers we cover.
Yeah.
Well,
They pretty much have
Marxism
it.
and I'm not, Marxism tends to define social norms as problems. You know, they want a magic bullet, for all the society's problems, and so they link all societal norms to capitalism, and then say that's bad, right? So anything that isn't Marxism or socialism is alt-right, essentially.
I guess so.
It's entirely plausible he could have gone down the path to becoming a leftist. Now, this is not to make an economic anxiety argument. The animating force of
What the hell is economic anxiety? Does anyone know?
I think it's Marxism. I think he used a Latin phrase, but I'm pretty sure that is like classic Marxism. Economic anxiety is one of the problems of the proletariat.
I wouldn't be surprised if he quotes Marx. Yeah. Anyway,
the far right has been bigotry. But the alt-right targets Gabe by treating his economic anxiety as one of many things bigotry can be sold as a solution to.
what if he doesn't have any economic anxiety? What if he's like, yeah, I'll get a job one day, or maybe I have a job, but it's okay. What if he's just like, yeah, life is good, just sort of cruising?
Or just as a creative type who just thinks that the quality of media has gone down because he doesn't like a Star Wars movie. He's associated with the alt-right.
Or he just likes philosophy in general. He's never actually studied it. He's just sort of casually going through message boards and listening to people online like, oh, that's interesting. Okay.
It is their aim that when dissatisfied white men go looking for answers, they find the alt-right.
What? Really?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to say...
There's an awful lot of disgruntled white people on the left. I don't think the right has any kind of exclusivity there.
They would generally look at philosophy or philosophers, rather, like Plato, Aristotle, some of the existentialists like Sartre. They could pick all kinds of different people over the ages to read, whether it's poetry or prose or... You want for meaning, go for a walk. What am I doing with my? Let me dream. Let me have an aspiration. Let me think. What do I love? What do I hate? What do I like? That might be another answer. They don't gravitate to just this political random extreme group. Okay, how?
Before they find us. Step 2.
Who's us? Who is he talking about? Himself?
Yeah, let's rewind. Let's rewind to see what he means, just so we can understand what he's talking about.
It is their aim that when dissatisfied white men go looking for answers, they find the alt-right before they find us. Step 2.
Yeah, who is us?
The YouTube community?
Leftists?
I
guess, to like de-radicalize them?
People on Tumblr? I guess Twitter.
Yeah,
now.
he's really missing some stuff here.
Yeah. Step 2. Oh, it's going to be another one of these dumb videos. Part 1, Act 4.
I think Hello Future Me does it well, but most of these other people don't do it very well. Like, at least, like, Hello Future Me's, like, structured his videos in terms of topics.
Established community. Were Gabe pledging an old-school hate movement, there would probably be a recruiter to usher him into an existing community. But that's the kind of formalized interaction modern extremists tend to avoid. Online extremism has many points of entry and everybody's journey is unique, so rather than be comprehensive, we will focus on what are, in my estimation, the two most common pathways. The far right creates a community Gabe is likely to stumble into, or infiltrates a community Gabe is...
Citing sources. This guy is doing so much just like saying this is what happens. It's like he's an expert on a witness stand, where he everyone just kind of accepts that he's done all of this research. It's like his life's work, and he doesn't have to, the sources are at the end. The sources are, wherever, right? This guy, he's making a YouTube video, supposedly to help people, and he's not saying what research he's done, find it, how you can double check his work.
So I'm assuming this is like a plaza or a mall, or like there's a group of people somewhere standing. And, it's either he initiates the conversation or someone initiates the conversation towards his group, because this does not happen online. Okay? I don't know what this means. Here's a Rocky Desert Flower. What exactly is the alt-right, and why is everyone against SJW regressivism alt-right? Everything against. I don't know what the alt-right is yet, because it hasn't been defined. And he's just assuming, again...
You have unread messages at your private
these people
terminal.
just say stuff, and I was like, can you give us some terms to reference, to look at?
Let me look up.
The only thing I'm comfortable saying is the alt-right is kind of like neo-Nazis and the KKK. It's like, and even then, I don't even know if that's technically correct, but things along those lines. But as far as, how far... towards the center is the line. It's completely undefined by the people who make these videos and talk about these things. It's just the boogeyman.
Yeah. Alt-right, a primer on the new white supremacy is an article out there. Okay, so the alt-right, according to Wikipedia, is an abbreviation for the alternative right. Loosely connected far-right white nationalist movement based in the Americas. Largely online phenomenon, it is originated in the U.S. during the 2010s, although it has established its presence in various other countries. It's ill-defined, having been used in different ways by various self-abscribed alt-rightists, media commenters, and academics. Groups which have been identified as alt-right also espouse white nationalism, white supremacism, white separatism, right-wing populism, tight immigration restrictions, racism, anti-communism, anti-Zionist, Holocaust denial, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, anti-feminism, homophobia, and Islamophobia.
That's a lot.
So it's very vague and very broad. So almost seems like by design. Because as soon as you can nail down something, and define what something is and what something isn't, then generally speaking, people can decide for themselves whether or not what they're looking at is or is not that thing.
Yeah, this is very similar to the concept of the Silk Road or the dark web. Whenever you see a police procedural the past 10 years, they always reference, I went on the dark web to post some drugs and I got a hit and I'm going to follow the perk. It's like, yeah, sure you did. It's always this generic thing that no one knows what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, technically speaking, the dark web apparently is just any website that is unlisted, that you have to know the address to originally to get to.
Yeah, well, there's lots of definitions for it. So there's private networks and what have you. Yeah. Anyway.
Already in. The stumble upon method has two main branches, one of which is just Gabe ends up on a Chan board.
Oh, really? That's it? He surfs the web. Okay, that's the stumble upon method.
Which we've already done a video about. The other is kind of the polar opposite of 4chan's cult of anonymity. Gabe ends up in the fandom of a far-right thought leader. These folks are charismatic.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You have unread messages at your private terminal.
Sargon.
They're both browsing the web. That's pretty much his diagram is just he goes to this website or he goes to that website. It's like, okay.
So Sargon and Mike Zero, I don't know the other two, are gateways to the alt-right, apparently.
Okay, how the hell are any of these guys alt-right? One's a comedian, one's a YouTuber, one's a professor, and the other one's a news critic person.
Media personalities. That's charismatic according to Gabe's tastes, not ours. I don't understand it either. And these personalities may gain traction on any number of platforms, from podcasts to reportage to blogging, though the most effective platform for red pilling is, and yes, I am biting the hand that feeds me, YouTube. They may get Gabe's attention through fairly conventional means, like talking about or even generating controversy to get themselves trending, while some of the more committed will employ dubious SEO tactics like clickbait, Google bombing, and data voids.
Okay.
Wait.
Clickbait, we all know.
Is this?
Google bombing is okay. That's okay. There's various white hat and black hat techniques for increasing your page rank. Black hat would be to pay someone to create a server farm of links of websites that link to your website. So doing this is, I don't know, this has got to be at least a year old because this has been fixed by Google a long time ago. You can't do that anymore. Data voids is... No, I've never even heard of that. That could be anything. That's taking any keyword search and doing pretty much the same thing as Google bombing, but doing another technique. Just get a bunch of pages that have your keyword that point to your page. That's it. But it's not dubious. That's just... You could write one thing on one website and then post the same article on another website, et cetera. There's all sorts of techniques that people do. Journalists do that all the time. Independent journalists do that a lot. Like on medium.com, you see the same article post on like the CBC or BBC or what have you. So.
But what they tend to have in common, especially the most accessible ones, is that they don't present themselves as entry points to the radical right. In fact, many did not set out to be far-right thought leaders and may not think of themselves as such.
They're not.
Though they are often selling products of which the alt-right are among their biggest purchasers.
Okay, wait, well, slow down here. What the hell is the top left? Is that a pillow with an anime?
I guess so.
Sargon Senpai.
Does Sargon really sell that?
I hope not.
I don't think
I don't think he sells that. If I'm not saying that's not Sargon, but somebody else's. That's a fan creation. I highly doubt he sells that.
With Jordan Peterson wrote maybe 2 books, maybe 3, and they have nothing to do with politics. Nothing.
Oh man.
A lot with
so
Crowder.
Jordan Peterson is.
So Stephen Crowder, he has, instead of he's not paid through YouTube. He's paid through his Mug Club, which is pretty much like subscribing to a service, but you pay him every month, and he gives you jokes and what have you. So that is, I mean, what does that have to do with politics? I don't know. Yeah, he does say a lot of political things, but it's mostly to debate and talk and make laugh and make fun of things. It's his show. It's all comedy. And Brain Force, I'm not even sure what that is. What does that have to do with the alt-right? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Looks like a supplemental.
And it's not turning the money away, so there's that. How they present is the same way anyone presents who wants to be successful on social media. Accessible, approachable, authentic. The face-to-face relationship a budding extremist forms with their recruiter or the leader of their hate group's local chapter are here.
Is that Patrick Stewart?
Accessible, approachable, authentic.
It looks like Patrick Stewart.
The face-to-face relationship a budding extremist forms with their recruiter or the leader of their hate group's local chapter are here folded into one parasocial relationship with a complete stranger. Why this person appeals to Gabe is they're not selling politics as politics.
Okay, Stefan Molyneux is a philosopher, so he covers a broad range of topics. Politics is just one of the more popular ones that he talks about, but he is definitely... I don't think has anything to do with leftist or rightist politics at all. I think he said he was an anarcho-capitalist or something along those lines. Or libertarian. I don't know.
But conservatism as a kind of lifestyle brand. They rely heavily on critiquing or ridiculing...
It's a way of life, guys. Okay.
The left. Feminists are oversensitive, black people unintelligent.
Wait, slow down here.
Whoa, wow, no.
So, okay, how do we start this? Davis Arini, I don't think has ever said black people are unintelligent. Thunderfoot, I don't think has ever attacked feminists that way. I think he is a feminist. He criticizes them, I know that, he used to. So I don't know what he does anymore. I haven't watched his channel in years. Anyway.
Queer folks doomed to loneliness and...
What?
Please.
Wait. So Ben Shapiro has said queer folks are doomed to loneliness? Is that a quote?
You know that Ben Shapiro thinks that being trans is... illness, and it's related to gender dysphoria.
Okay, that's fine. He can believe in that. That's fine. It's up to him. He's not hurting anyone. I believe this is a mental disorder. It's like, okay, do you have any proof? Unless he talks about it and shows proof, I don't care. So,
trans people insane.
You know, if these people are really saying these things, a quote from them would really help.
Yeah.
And should be really easy, especially if you're labeling these people this way. It's one thing if, like before, he was saying that the general kind of outlook of those kinds of people are a certain way. But when you say these people believe these things, probably best to actually have quotes, hear it from them specifically, so that it doesn't come off as BS.
The other problem is when you quote people, they're going to be taking them out of context for that quick 2-second soundbite. So you have to be careful how you present.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, if somebody told a joke, jokes are supposed to be heretical. They're supposed to be, edgy to a certain extent.
Right. Exactly.
You could take a joke out of context.
But
I mean, just like how they say that a lot of Mahler's critics say Mahler thinks this way, Mahler believes this, Mahler says this, and they always just say it and they never have a quote because Mahler doesn't actually believe or say those things.
I remember a quote by Davis Arini from years ago. He says, what was it? White nationalism sounds good on paper. And that's like, yeah, a lot of things in theory sound good on paper, like Plato's Republic sounds great on paper until you actually think about it and go, how the hell are we going to implement a political system where people give up all their fortunes and try to walk around working on donations and trying to organize society? It sounds impossible. So lots of things sound good on paper. There's all these quotes that are taken out of context from their like hour-long rants or 20-minute conversations or reflections they have with YouTube or whatever. I know Stefan Molyneux has whole weeks and weeks of hours of worth of ideas on how to raise your kids, this and that. So unless you actually sit down and listen to them and try to understand it, it's like going to a lecture and leaving within the first 10 minutes because you don't like the idea of whatever the topic is.
The left. Feminists are oversensitive, black people unintelligent, queer folks doomed to loneliness, and trans people insane. Now, I don't know if it's a coincidence that these are all things Gabe thinks about himself in his low moments. By contrast, they don't sell conservatism as having sounder policies or a more coherent moral framework, but that abandoning progressive principles and embracing conservative ones will make Gabe happier.
How do you know they're even saying that? What is embracing this and throwing away that? Like, where is that coming from? I don't get it.
Not only that, but he's assuming that the natural state of being for any person is a liberal mindset. He's, maybe Gabe grew up in a conservative home,
but how do you argue that this is going to make you happy? Like, what's the flow of logic between I'm over here and if I was just more conservative, I'd be happier? Whenever you say something, this is going to cause you pleasure, this is more pleasant, this is more enjoyable. It's like, what are you talking about? Like a hamburger from McDonald's and a hamburger from Wendy's? Like, what are you comparing? Like, you can't just say all of conservatism.
Outside of cult like speak, I've never heard anyone say doing this will make you happy. Both sides say, this is the right way to live. Certain groups of people on both sides, not everyone, but they say those things, but they never say these things will make you happy. It's only the cult that wants to segregate you from society, segregate you from your family, that says, if you come do this, believe in this, you'll find fulfillment, you'll find happiness. These people that he's talking about aren't those people.
I can maybe hear Jordan Peterson talk about happiness because he's trying to help people and this is what you should do in your life. You should be more responsible. But that's basic stuff. That's not anything complex. And a lot of his stuff is very easy to understand. I don't think there's a political slant aside from his hatred of Marxism and communism, because he does talk about that, but that's not in the book. That's not like there are some random effects to it. I think there's 2 or 3 references, but it's not about that. He just compares it to other conditions of living and what it means not to have responsibility and having a big brother complex or a big brother community, like a government in control of things. I think that's as far as it goes, but he's there to help young men and women primarily.
Yeah, where he says stuff like, I tell the young men that no, those who have swords and know how to use them but keep them sheathed shall inherit the earth. That's the meek shall inherit the earth is wrongly translated. And kind of going to kind of that idea of no, you should be an absolute monster, but you should learn to control it. Control it and not sheathe your competitive instincts.
Remember, Gabe isn't looking for white nationalism or misogyny. What he wants is the cure to his soul sickness.
What? What the hell? Is it Kingdom Hearts quote? What is that? Soul sickness?
That sounds like Kingdom Hearts.
Let's just keep going.
And these friendly micro-celebs are here to offer a shot of life advice with politics as the chaser. It is extreme.
Really?
Oh.
Jordan Peterson chases politics or gives me an affectatious political agenda? I don't think so.
I call bull crap.
He wants me to tie my shoes and pet a dog and make my bed in the morning. That's what he wants for me to do. He doesn't want me to join the alt-right.
Extremely important that politics be presented as a set of affects, not a set of
beliefs. Here we go.
The
Semantics.
second pathway is infiltration, which is its own beast. Media personalities sometimes become gateways to the right almost by accident. They do something edgy, a part of their audience reacts positively, and facing no real consequence, they do it more. This leads to further positive reinforcement from conservative fans, the rest of the audience acclimates, and the cycle repeats. The personality...
Oh, here we go.
Yikes. Okay.
PewDiePie is not that bad. He's just an idiot.
He's just an edgy YouTuber. He's just, I mean, he may gear his content for a younger group, but he's just trying to be edgy. He's not trying to say anything political at all.
Pushing the
From what I understand,
further based on what flies with their increasingly conservative audience. In this way,
I don't think PewDiePie is really that sensitive to the millions upon millions of views he gets every second he's online. That would take so much effort just to interpret all the comments and super chats and I don't know what else he would do to get feedback, but that would take he would need to hire a firm to sift through all those information and figure out what's going on.
They become a right-wing figure by both radicalizing and being radicalized by.
Are you insane? What is this nonsense?
Wow.
This what? That's like saying, "Hey,
this is the Marxist dialectic work, isn't it?"
Yeah, it's like, "Hey, Smud, do you hate Kingdom Hearts? Well, you should play Kingdom Hearts." It's like, no. I'm not going to play Kingdom Hearts, but you should play No, I'm not. You should. No, I'm not going to play it. Okay, but apparently, if you tell me to keep playing Kingdom Hearts, I'll keep playing it and keep talking about it. No, I'm not going to happen. So, what the hell is this?
Their audience. Infiltration is deliberate. The far right.
Sure, you just said it was a feedback loop. It's passive.
I think this is I think this is another part. This is like arc 3, but it's unlabeled.
I don't get it. He just said it was this loop where some guy says something edgy or fun, they like it, and they just keep going back and forth. It's like, okay, for fun. Are you deliberately just having fun? If that's the case, then you're deliberately just having fun. The message doesn't matter so long as it's fun to do. It's like playing hot potato. It's like, oh, I got the potato now. Oh, he's a potato monger. He steals potatoes from us. It's like, no, he's just playing a game. That's all he's doing.
Like how a lot of people are claiming that you need to the political message of a film needs to be always progressive, and if it deviates, it's bad. Like when people went gaga over The Last Jedi and said like this is the greatest Star Wars movie, and then people talking about Joker as if it's like the most bland, empty movie ever, or one of the worst movies ever.
Well, that was funny. The riots that would have occurred when Joker came out in the theater. It's like, yeah, right, sure.
Yeah.
There was some way more violence at Frozen 2 than there was at Joker.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Somebody got attacked with a machete.
Oh, dear.
But I'm sure that was obviously an isolated incident.
Yeah.
Making good time, though, relatively speaking.
It will reliably target any community that has 1, a large white male population, 2, whose niche interests allow them.
Yeah. You know where the males are? There's usually females. Just to explain how sex works. Okay.
Them to feel vaguely marginalized, and 3, who are not used to progressive critique of said interest.
Hey, if you're done, when you write a book, do you
you're not self-deprecating that?
I'm just curious, Dunn, when you write a book, do you get any progressive feedback in your comment section on your Amazon pages?
Nope. I don't even get reviews of my Amazon stuff.
Okay.
Most of it's like thankfully 5 out of 5s, which I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm just I don't care. I like if you have progressive value. I'm like, I don't care if my book doesn't cater to your politics. Job is to write a good story. I don't care. I am going to write the story that I want to tell, and I'm going to do it as well as I can. I'm not going to cater to the politics of the day. I think that's absolutely asinine.
This is crazy. Yeah, I can't believe a niche interest allow them to feel vaguely marginal. Like, what is that? I don't know.
Star Wars is the most normie-friendly franchise on the face of planet Earth.
Like, to say you like snakes. Like, I have a pet. I don't know. Let's say you have an exotic pet snake. Does that make me feel marginal? Like, what is? I don't get this. Like, what is he talking about?
Very little.
And why are they white males? Like, what does that have to do with anything?
whole lot of sound and fury signifying nothing.
Yeah, but the number 3, where you're not used to progressive critique. If you're not self-deprecating, then you're wrong. There's something wrong about you. If you don't hate, if you're not fully invested, and fully indoctrinated into progressive politics 100% of the time, there's something wrong with you. Apparently. Which he condemned the group he's talking about as being a problem when it's for the right, but not for the left, apparently.
Yeah. Hypocrisy.
Isn't to say progressive critique doesn't exist or hasn't been baked into the property from the beginning, but that it has been so far easy for white guys to ignore. As such, progressives within that community probably don't talk politics much, and women and minorities are perfectly welcome to post, same as anyone, but just, don't make identity politics, like a thing. Given Gabe's proclivities, he's probably already in a number of fan communities where he can geek out and not get teased. Yeah. And this is where the far right will go looking for him. Communities are...
Wait, what? Why?
Oh, gosh. He's assuming that these groups don't already have those people, like world-class bullshitters. That podcast has only one white guy on it, right? And they all love geekdom and talk about it, and that's what has brought those people together. Whether it's wrestling or Star Wars or whatnot, all of those things, and they love talking about those things. They just don't love talking about it in a political context, right? And so, and they all have different backgrounds, and yet this guy says is that when he's labeling all of those people, all those other marginalized groups, as all having the same concerns. So they all come in and they want to ruin it by talking about identity politics. It's like, that's not everyone. That's a small subgroup.
The dude who runs world-class bullshitters is not a white dude. He's a black man.
Exactly.
At their most vulnerable to infiltration at times of political discord. This can happen naturally, say a new property in the fandom has a black protagonist, or it can be provoked. Say a bunch of channers join the forum and say provocative things.
They like the German military? What?
And a bunch of whatters? A bunch of whatters?
4chan. Everyone on 4chan is a Nazi.
Oh, what?
It's just... yeah. That is just...
What is 4chan anyway?
De facto for him.
What is...
I've never been on it, but it's just a what do you call it?
It's a message board that anyone can post anonymously. So
yeah,
and you can put anything, like they don't care, pretty much. There's some rules, some limits, but really you could do whatever you like.
About race to get arguing, or both. Left to its own devices, the community might sort out its differences and maybe even come out more progressive than they started.
If we're talking about a left-leaning, inclusive community, no. They're going to make their own niches, they're going to have their own little tribes, and they're going to start arguing amongst themselves.
Oh, yes. Like, the Wheel of Time community is a very left-leaning fandom. General, like they want trans representation in the Wheel of Time.
Yeah, there's not enough black people, there's not enough females, there's not enough this. It's like, okay.
See, he's defined progressivism as not only apparently the norm, but the end goal of any endeavor.
Like, I'd be fine with it if they put out better products, but most of their products suck. Most of their films suck.
Well, I mean, people love the Cosby Show was huge, and it didn't have a progressive message. It was just a family sitcom, with a black cast, and
But that's a Raven.
Yeah,
But that's a Raven.
They all love. It's widely loved by a huge demographic, or by many different demographics. And it had nothing to do with progressivism. But he's saying that it's like, oh hey, if all of these different groups get together, hopefully they'll become more progressive. That's the goal, apparently. Anything other than that is neutral at best, maybe, probably bad.
But right pressure applied in the right moment, these communities can devolve into arguments about the need to remove a nebulously defined politics from the conversation. The adage about bros on the internet is political means anything I disagree with. But it would be more accurate to say here, political means anything on which the community disagrees. For instance, Nazis are bad is an apolitical statement because everyone in the community agrees. It's common sense and therefore neutral. But paradoxically, Nazis are good is also apolitical. Because Nazis are bad is the consensus, Nazis are good must just be an edgy joke. And even if not...
Wait, what? It's...
Oh my gosh.
How is this a joke now?
Okay.
The other one wasn't?
Bad is, historically agreed upon, I think. Nobody, who is intelligent thinks that Nazis were good. Anybody who is intelligent understands the Nazis are horrible, evil people, and the people who are claiming to be neo-Nazis are mostly idiots.
So 4chan, which represents Anonymous, thinks Nazis are good. Is that because it's a joke and they take everything as a joke? Sure, okay. That's 4chan. That's not what you're talking about, though. How would 4chan get involved with this group that is this, inclusive group of people? I don't know. What is this?
I just choose to have no political stance because most politics is made of idiots screaming at each other at the top of their lungs, trying to convince people that their screaming is more intelligible than the other person's screaming. That's all it is.
The community already believes the opposite, so the statement is harmless, tolerable. However, feminism is good is a political statement because the community...
How is feminism political?
It's just, at its base, feminism is just equal treatment of women with men. Theory, good. In a lot of the practicing...
You have unread messages at your private terminal.
Where it's just it just seems as though it's aggressive pandering in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So that's my feel.
It's because, that they're so, feminism is so intrusive, and it's so, what do you call it? It's, it
Annoying.
makes everything political. Often feminists, they want to change, they want to, they say that sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Well, they'll make that kind of thinking isn't allowed with feminism, right? So it's not necessarily that feminism is good as political. It's that it can just be exhausting because you're like, I just don't want to deal with it.
I think he might be referring to intersectional feminism or fourth wave feminism, maybe the later incarnations of feminism, not feminism in general. Of course not. That's silly.
It's a loaded statement, I think, is the best way to put it.
What is it? I feel like a lot of this is kind of like a Mott Bailey argument or fallacy, where he's saying his terms are so broad that you can kind of agree with the general statement while he advances the more radical or unusual view. and then you're like to kind of get you to go along with his arguments and his premises.
Yeah.
Does it feel like that way to you? Anyone?
Well, he's doing two extremes. He's doing Nazism is good, and now he's jumping to feminism. He's saying, no, this is political. It's like, no, it's not. It really isn't.
Community hasn't consensus. It is debatable and therefore political, and you should stop talking.
Wait, what? Okay. Because it's debatable, it's political? No. What do you... Oh, forget it. This is silly.
There are certain forums in which, like, politics is not allowed. Like I know, like, there are a number of servers where it's like, we are not talking about politics. This is just about the fandom that we are a part of. Does that make them fascist?
If you join a news group or any sort of forum and they have politics in there, and you put a feminism topic in as one of the things to read about in the political forum, then you're obviously going to say some political stuff. But it's the same thing with logic in philosophy. It's its own branch. You can have logic in anything. So, but that's a tool. It's a useful tool to argue. You can put feminism in your politics, but you don't have to. And unless it's a topic of argument, what's the big deal? He's saying that this is a problem because people disagree. It's like, no, you're going to get disagreements everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go.
About it. Making political arguments, no matter how rational, is having an agenda, and having an agenda is ruining the community. Now, it is curious how the things that provoke the most disagreement tend to be whichever ones make white dudes uncomfortable.
The white dudes are uncomfortable. Aw, jeez.
One of life's great unanswerable mysteries. You can gather where this...
Holy jeez.
Man,
this guy is not like heterosexual white dudes. Why?
is going. A community that doesn't tolerate progressivism.
Could be anyone.
Could be women.
But does tolerate Nazism, is going to start collecting Nazis. Nazis whose goal is...
Wait, what? What just happened? What happened? Let's go back.
You can gather where this is going. A community that doesn't tolerate progressivism, but does tolerate Nazism, is going to start collecting Nazis. Nazis whose goal...
What? Okay.
No, tolerate Nazis, you get Nazis. I would assume that would be like a generally like accepted statement where people go where they're permitted.
Yeah.
But he's just automatically saying that's Nazis. But just like the word Nazi is so like has lost all meaning of late. Can
you think of a forum where it's like, do you believe in progressive ideas? Then you're not allowed here. Do you believe in Nazism? Then you're okay. It's like, what kind of forum is this? Where am I?
This is exactly what I meant by like the Mont Bailey. This is like, people can agree with the statement in general. I think everyone in chat and us can agree that if this situation somehow did happen, that yes, you could accumulate a certain amount of Nazis. However, this situation doesn't happen. And not only that, but any group that doesn't want progressivism wouldn't want Nazis.
There's
and
plenty.
Not only that,
but there's plenty of rules. There's plenty of rules on forums, YouTube, etc. Or any big website that you can't say hate speech, you can't have this or that. If it's very small websites or privately owned websites with forums, then it would be more catered to those specific people. So what's the problem here?
Right. And he's kind of defined kind of like the general concept of progressivism with his brand of it. His like Marxism is he's defined, what is it? It's a big broad definition, progressivism, with a lot of sub categories, but he's not advancing that. He's advancing Marxism.
I don't think he's defined anything. He just sort of said alt-right is this. You're like, really? Bunch of people?
Well, yeah, that's why Yeah, that's why I was saying that it's Mott Bailey.
Yeah.
You know,
is to drive edge between the community and the left. Once the left acknowledges, hey, your community's developing a Nazi problem, the Nazis, who are, remember, trusted apolitical members of the community who might just be kidding about all the Nazi shit, say, did you hear that, guys? Those cultural Marxists just called all of us Nazis. Wedge. Similarly, any community members who say, but Nazis, though, are framed as infiltrators pushing an agenda, even if they've been there longer than the Nazis have. They get the wedge, too. This is how fandoms radicalize. They are...
Really? They have an argument? I don't think I believe what you're saying. Oh, you must be a Nazi. Okay.
Generally there are moderators of some kind.
Yeah, this is silly. I don't even know what he's talking about. Does this actually occur? Because when I was on a forum and you said something even remotely negative, you got banned for a day or a week, or some people got permanently banned. And that was on a video game forum. So, nothing to do with politics.
Like places like Anomaly Inc. server, like they say no politics. They keep to that, and they have like specialized like goals that kind of can keep you like contained to specific chats if you are like misbehaving. So, and if like you get multiple offenses, you are permanently banned.
Built as, yeah, I'll say it, safe spaces for nerds, weebs, and furries, and are told that the left is a threat to their safety. And given a choice between...
Their safety to what? To communicate freely? What are they doing on a forum that they're endangered?
Since when are furries alt-righters Nazis? Most furries I've seen, like online or otherwise, are on the left.
I'm trying to figure out this safe space concept. If you're on a forum where there are rules to follow, don't you have to follow the rules so everyone gets along? Like, that's the idea, right? You can't have hate speech.
The only thing that like I can say like for instance, like I have a general ranting like channel where just nobody is allowed, like if somebody wants to unload about like something they hate in life, nobody is allowed to actually them. It's just
no ranting, only me. Okay.
Yeah.
Leaving a community that has mattered to him for years and simply adjusting to the community's shifting politics, the assumption is that Gabe will stay. This assumption is right often enough that a lot of fandoms have been colonized.
Okay, that's funny because when I had problems with the BioWare social network back in the day, it's because the moderators changed their rules all the time. And you were getting banned for saying something like this so simple because you disagreed with someone. That's when it started getting silly. And then we found other forums. We found YouTube. We found other places to talk. So nothing to do with politics, everything to do with the ban hammer and people getting overzealous with it.
Yeah. And you notice he said colonizing. So, again, using more Marxist terminology.
I'm going to colonize a website. We can all go there, guys, for our safe space so we can talk about video games.
It's true of both these, Gabe finding the right or the right finding him, is that Gabe does not come nor stay for the ideology. He's here for the community, the sense of being with his people, of having his fears validated and his...
No. He's there to talk about the thing he likes to talk about. It's nice to talk to people like who agree or disagree. That's why you have forum posts. That's why you want to know if your buddies or your detractors are like, let's see what he has to say. And they respond and you have a good, fun argument. That's why it's there. If not, you're just going to go and do your own thing. If you love Star Wars, you're going to watch Star Wars. You're going to play Star Wars. You're going to read Star Wars. It's that simple.
Like what you like and you want to chat about with other people.
Enjoyment shared. The ideology is simply the price of admission.
How is it the price of admission if before you said they come for their fandom or their thing they're interested in and they're infiltrated by off to the side people like Nazis or something like that? How is...
I don't think that it's not in the terms of agreement. you join that forum, you're like, oh yeah, I got to be a Nazi now.
Yeah, are you a liberal? Well, if you're not a liberal, you can't join. It's like, what? You're a card-carrying conservative. Give me your card.
3. Isolate. There is a vast interconnected network of far-right communities out there, and Gabe is, at this point, only on the periphery. In order to keep him in, they need to disrupt him.
Yeah, this is really conspiratorial. This is silly. It's a vast network of white nationalists who want to take away all our freedoms in Canada.
It sounds like
it's a problem with
the leftist equivalent of knobs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Good analogy. What is it? This is the problem with ideologues, is that they want a magic bullet for the problem. So he's laid all this out, like, this, when the situation is more nuanced than what he's presenting. And but he can't handle that kind of conversation. It doesn't appear that way anyway, because he's labeling anyone who would have that conversation as all right.
He would cite sources, he would point to websites, but he can't because they don't exist.
His relation to other communities and become more and more his primary online social space. Having made this space hostile to the left, they now seek to break his connections to progressives elsewhere in his life. This is hard to do online. The whole appeal of moving radicalism to the internet is that your away from keyboard life doesn't have to change. You are crypto the moment you log off. Some thought leaders will encourage their audience to cut ties with family of origin or DFU, but even then...
That's completely unrelated to the concepts that Stefan Molyneux talks about. Because he doesn't like... I think his philosophy is about parents who abuse their children. And if your parent is still abusive to you, you can, say, I don't want you in my... But that's not just parents. That's anyone. That's anything where you're having a negative experience or what have you.
Much as I don't like the alt-right, they are not, they don't perform, this kind of cult behavior. At least
I've never once heard
doing stuff like this. And this is, wild conspiracy.
You have
theory.
unread messages at your private terminal.
It's basically we think the Last Jedi's discussion of capitalism was so deep. It's basically that.
Okay. This guy made a Who Playhouse of straw. Yeah, this is a massive straw man. And it's interconnected to other straw men because every alt-right group is like a nationalist, a white nationalist, a socialist Nazi. I don't know what a Nazi is anymore in America. I have no idea.
Well, people like socialism just as much as they like Marxism.
I don't know anymore.
Cart knows Nazis like socialists.
It's kind of funny, yeah.
Basically, catch-all term for
these
racism.
Antifa members who hate Nazis is like, do you know what Nazism was? You're decrying the thing you actually represent. Okay.
They can't monitor the audience has actually done it in the way an in-person movement could. And so alienating Gabe from the left is less controlled and consequently maybe less total. How much Gabe isolates is up to him. But the vast majority of far-right media presumes an alienation from the left. Part of conservative bloggers...
No, we don't. We don't. What? How do they do this? How do they know this?
How did he determine this is true? It's too much original kind of information. Too much. There's no building up.
He's making assumptions that Stefan Molyneux knows this stuff when he just says he doesn't care. Let's just go back there. I didn't understand it. Damn, what the hell?
Total. How much Gabe has actually done it in the way an ears will encourage their audience to cut ties with family of origin or DFU. But even then, they can't monitor whether the audience has actually done it in the way an in-person movement
Okay, so they encourage it, but they don't monitor it. Okay, with you so far.
Could. And so alienating Gabe from the left is less controlled and consequently maybe less total. How much Gabe isolates is up to him. But the vast majority of far-right media presumes an alienation from the left.
What does that mean? a bunch of there's a bunch of people who are far right, and they presume you're segregating yourself from the far left. Is that it? Do they even care what other websites are on? Whether you watch the Young Turks or not? I don't think so.
This is just a guess, but he might have done some research or some kind of looking into browsing of cult-like behavior, and then he's defined these groups as being cult-like, so he's projecting onto them what he knows about cults. Because this is all brand new to me, and yet he's speaking about people I'm aware of, even if I don't listen to them, and yet I've never heard any of this from anyone who does know about it.
I do know that, for whatever reason, the left hate Jordan Peterson with a fiery passion. Same with Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro I can understand because he does cover politics, but I don't. The only thing I can think of with Peterson is that because he was against was it Bill 31? I can't remember the name of the bill, but it was against forced speech because he believed in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the Section 2, where you should enforce someone how to talk, but that's essentially what it was, and that bill did eventually get passed. So it's legal, you have to speak to someone with the proper pronouns, but how the hell do you enforce that? Is there going to be a grammar police running around? Is someone going to call the cops saying, oh, someone didn't follow Bill 31 because I asked them to? It's they don't give a shit. But you can technically get sued over that. So
it just feels like there's just an element of control of meaningless things being seen as toxic.
You have unread messages at your private terminal.
At least there needs it just seems as though there's this toxic we need to control all of these meaningless things.
Well, that's ultimately what politics is all about. It's all about control. So whether you call it wordthink or bad speak, how far can you take this to control your society? Which socks do you wear? Which shoes do you wear? How do you walk down the street? All these series of rules that we have to follow. Mike Testa, I like this one. Remember when Nazi stood for National Socialist? Yeah.
You have unread messages at your private terminal.
Part of conservative bloggers and YouTubers making the left look pathetic is doing a lot of takedowns and responses. This is a constant repetition of the left's arguments for the purpose of mockery. And for Gabe, it starts to replace any engagement with progressive media directly. He soon knows the left only through caricature. It also trains him if he does...
That's because you make caricatures of yourself like you're doing in this video. You're sounding crazy. And we mock you because we can't relate. We're just sitting there going, you actually think this way. By inventing straw men and attacking them and us looking at them and going, what are you trying... What windmill are you tilting at today, sir? I seem to have forgotten the previous one because it never existed in the first place. Now you're inventing another one.
Directly engage to approach the left with the same combative stance as his role models. For reference, see my comment section. And this is only if he doesn't partake in one of the many active boycotts of SJW media. In addition to mocking the left's arguments, they also, curiously, appropriate them. This is one part sanitization because liberal centrism is more socially acceptable. Indeed, many figures on the outer layers think of themselves as moderates even as they serve as gateways to radicalism. But also...
I'm a moderate.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Little did I know I was raising Nazis.
Just like you said at the beginning, if you're to the right of him, then you're alt-right.
This implies Stefan Molyneux is a gateway drug to alt-rightism, even though he's not alt-right. It's this bizarre logic. If you like one episode of Ben Shapiro, therefore you're going to jump somehow into some sort of web ring there's all these white nationalists or something. I don't know.
Because you think that Brie Larson's kind of an airhead.
Yeah, well.
Who says really stupid things like "A Wrinkle in Time" was great.
I think a lot of people in Hollywood are airheads, but not just Brie Larson. So.
Well, she opened her mouth and revealed herself to be stupid.
Oh yeah, but that's every interview with a lot of people, so I don't care.
True. Like most of Tim Burton's interviews and Zack Snyder's interviews are bad.
Yeah.
Many
with this guy though, this whole thing is a slippery slope argument against like he was saying earlier, that these people may not even believe, they think they're classical liberals, but they're really just gateway drugs to the alt-right. It's like that, it's like it's
You can't correlate those two things.
Yeah.
Well, I like how his therapy is to provide progressive leftism, which I thought was the same thing, but apparently it's maybe it is progressive rightism. I don't know. So what are Gabe's problems exactly that the progressive left can solve or address? Like, what will that do? What is the problem, and how will it be solved by the progressive left philosophy? Whatever that might be.
Honestly, it seems though, with a lot of communists, they're just some of my money would go to the poor people who do bugger all to support themselves. F that, no. That's how my sister got out of her communist phase.
Oh wow.
The simple solution to any radicalization, whether it's left or right, is listening to both sides. When you stop listening to the other side, stop entertaining their ideas, regardless of where you what conclusion you come to. When you stop listening to them, that's where the danger comes in.
Well, in this context, he's painting the other side as bad, and therefore, because it's already been tried or it's already there, it needs more leftism, which is this strange concept that if you're not moderate enough, there's something wrong with you, or if you're not left enough, or even not right enough, there's something wrong. It's like, listen, who cares what they are? Who cares what's in your heart and your mind about how to control people in politics? That's up to you. Hopefully you don't get to have that power and start controlling people or let them free or whatever. This is this strange dynamic between, well, because you're not enough of me, you need more of me because I'm right. It's like you haven't addressed the problem. What is the issue?
Yeah.
Many of Gabe's problems could be addressed by progressive leftism, so they sell him racist and sexist versions of it. Yes, there is a problem with workers being underpaid and overextended, but the solution isn't unions, it's deporting immigrants. Yeah.
What? The hell? I've had this problem crop up in my jobs, so no, the problem is getting paid overtime and in half. That's the best solution. You want me to work more? No problem. You're paying me. Go for it. I don't care.
Yes, there is a chronic loneliness and anger to being a man in the modern age, but it's not because of the toxic masculine expectations placed on you by the patriarchy. It's women being slutty. Yeah.
Wait, what? What was that?
There is a chronic loneliness and anger to being a man in the modern age, but it's not because of the toxic masculine expectations placed on you by the patriarchy.
Toxic masculinity is a myth.
Wait. So there's a boogeyman called the patriarchy who have expectations of me to be masculine. What?
Again, more Marxist.
I just can't take toxic masculinity arguments seriously anymore. It's just so stupid.
Although I would recommend everyone get some exercise now and again. That's always a great idea. So I wouldn't call that masculinity though. I just call it exercise.
Well, like toxic masculinity. Yeah. The problem with toxic masculinity as a concept is that they are identifying it with masculinity instead of theoretically, there is kind of like toxic behavior in general, right? In the same way that, mansplaining, is like, you could be any, you could be a man or a woman and be kind of overbearing and ignoring somebody's education or competency to explain a topic to them that they already know, or in a way that is demeaning to them. It's not exclusive to men, but these terms are defined as problems that men have, whether or not the majority of people doing it is men. The problem is the behavior, not the gender.
Being patronizing is not unique to dudes. Is like, see The Last Jedi, for example, of an awful patronizing woman.
It's women being slutty. Yes, wealth disparity does.
I don't even know where that came from. That's just, I don't know.
Problem not. No, nobody has said
Has
that.
the alt-right ever said women are too slutty? I've never heard these arguments before.
Honestly, like, if anything, the alt-right are saying that, well, maybe they'll say that, like, it's all a woman's fault, I guess, but usually, like, the alt-right is accused of, like, by the left, objectifying women, like, to high heaven.
So here's a super chat that's related. I've never heard any SJW, etc. tell me what positive masculinity is other than submission and obedience to the SJW. Yeah, what is positive? Does anyone know?
You have unread messages at your private terminal.
Soy boys are positive masculinity.
Oh.
I literally think that would be their answer, although I haven't heard it necessarily defined that way.
Okay. Oh, hey, Voice, how's it going? Voice, I could barely hear you, sir.
You sound like you're underwater, too.
Still nothing. I think you got your wires mixed up there. Or whatever you used back in the 20s.
It's kind of just like, you have the, like, this soft-spoken, like, dude who barely does anything, who will, like, basically accept, like, any progressive agenda and not question anything. Just like,
Hello.
Hey, Voice.
There we go.
Sorry, I had difficulty there. I had to reset my computer and it apparently forgot how to be connected to my headphones.
This does happen.
Because Microsoft Office is great.
Yes, it is.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. We are not even halfway done this video, if you care to join us.
I'm delighted to.
Okay, we're at 15 minutes in. We have 25 to go. Sorry. Yeah, we have 25 to go, so, yeah.
Doing way better than Sunday.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, a tiny percentage of elites have more influence over culture and politics than the rest of us combined. But the problem isn't capitalism. It's the Jews.
Wow.
Whoa.
Is this
nobody has said that. Like, honestly, like, racism against Jews is very low these days. Nobody really cares.
That's like a joke nowadays. Yeah, it's a silly joke to make.
It's like Israel is a tiny speck of a country that is at constant war with its neighbors because the U.S. put them into a zone with a bunch of people who frequently practice jihads and hold Jerusalem to be a sacred zone.
Well, in general, if anyone is seriously saying that Jewish people are a problem, that's okay to feel worried about. But I never heard anyone actually say that. I've only heard people talk about that being a thing. I've never actually heard it.
It's hard for Gabe to reject any of these ideas without, in the process, rejecting the progressive ideas they're copied from. The right's take the red pill is, to the untrained eye, similar to the left's get woke, or at least the bowdlerized version of get woke that is no longer specifically about race, which came to fashion once white people started saying it. Grumble, grumble, grumble.
Oh, the evil white person stealing the term. Oh, no. Oh, jeez. This guy hates white people. He just absolutely hates them.
Yeah.
I don't follow along what he's talking about here. What has he said so far?
Okay. How to describe this? Basically, there's ways that the alt-right infiltrate people's ideas by joining non-alt-right groups or listening to non-alt-right YouTubers that eventually have a underlying message of alt-rightism, but not directly. So...
if you listen to Sargon or Jordan Peterson, eventually you will become a Nazi. That's kind of his argument here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take the red pill or reject them both. Either is a step to the right. As this
What?
Rejecting both as a step towards the right? Are you nuts?
Please go back for the full context on that.
So, by his own logic, how do you win? Because obviously winning would be getting away from the right. So how do you win?
Embrace Marxism.
Become a leftist.
But he only presented two choices, get woke or, take the red pill. So there are alternative choices to make in the example that you're providing that you have not given us?
Apparently we don't know what the red pill is, and we don't know what get woke means. He assumes that we know.
I don't know what the red pill means.
Yeah.
It just means far left. Just you become an alt-righter.
I guess. I don't
know. I mean, that's not how it's used from the people I've heard it. Generally speaking, he is correct in that colloquially they're used to mean like progressives will say get woke means to become aware of a problem in relation to their viewpoint, whereas taking the red pill is becoming aware of problems as seen by the opposition. I don't even want to say that it's conservative, a conservative outlook, but just a anti-woke outlook is how I've heard it phrased, contextually.
I think that one definition is basically like you're awake to the lies of the government and the left. I think is like one way of looking at it.
But the way he explained it is if you're always going to the right regardless. It's like, oh, okay. Oops.
Out race, which came to fashion once white people started saying it. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Take the red pill or reject them both. Either is a step to the right. As this rhetoric slips into his day-to-day conversation, even as seemingly harmless irreverence, it may strain relationships with people who are not entertained by this shit.
Okay, yeah, I don't know the picture on the left, but there's nothing wrong with spanking a girl. So maybe he's never had a good relationship with women, but women love to be spanked. And if you don't have a good relationship with women, get out there, get some dating going. I know it's probably not the best idea nowadays because of COVID and what have you, but women love to be spanked, okay? So...
For clarification, I assume by that you mean that you're already in a relationship with this woman when you spank them.
This is true. Yes, you don't go around spanking women. No, that's a bad idea. But after the fact,
and don't go around spanking. And even if you're in a relationship with them, make sure that you have consent.
Yeah, double check that your woman actually enjoys spanking first.
Indeed.
I would hope they do. I haven't met one that hasn't, but it's a very good point, Royce.
I've not met one that hasn't, but yes.
Yes. Thank you. Good point.
Depends on how hard it is, I imagine. If it's a playful, little swan on the booty, I think they're fine. But if it's an active...
Oh no, I get a full run-up.
Oh, yeah. No, it's very violent. They like that. We're not talking about kinky stuff. We're just talking in general, okay? Just, no tools used. Just vanilla spanking. All right. Just to clarify, because you see these images, it's like there's nothing wrong with that image. I think that's a good thing. So I don't know.
I think maybe
And
like
to clarify even that, you mean the one on the right?
face.
Yes, the one on the right.
I think the one on the left is dude in blackface. At least.
Yeah, obviously, I would say so. Or could be a black Ronald McDonald. I don't know.
Well, everybody agrees that blackface is always bad. Like,
oh yes, we agree.
blackface is bad. Blackface is not a good thing.
Unless you're a professional entertainer, yeah, don't do that. Or a prime minister.
Off comments about race and gender can certainly be wearying for female and non-white friends, which can lead to a passive distance or an eventual confrontation, which only seems to confirm what his reactionary community says about liberal snowflakes. If he says these things on social media, he may get his account suspended. And if he comes back under an alt, you can bet his new reactionary friends will be the first to reconnect, applaud the behavior that got him banned, and repeat should he get banned again. A few cycles of this, and he's lost touch with everyone else. Also, his adoption of the insular, meme-laden terminology of his community makes him less and less comprehensible to outsiders. Over time, sources of information.
Gabe is one of his friends that just browses the internet. That's about it.
He browses the internet and becomes a Nazi just by osmosis.
Yeah. The left rejects rejects you, and the alt-right embraces you. So you go with the people who make you feel good, and then all of a sudden you're applauding blackface. Apparently,
I take this from someone who's only observed with an outside lens, but it seems very easy for the left on the internet to denounce you, or they will far quicker than those on the right. Not saying that means anything, but if they were clubs, one is significantly harder to get into than the other.
Or, well, one has a more stringent police policy than the other.
Which is probably why to many of these people it seems like so many are not in their club.
Yeah, because like a lot of people just say like, I would like to make the occasional joke and write like this specific kind of content, and without like people yelling, it's not progressive enough.
And it's like, no, you're not allowed. Get out of our club. You're banned now. And because by virtue of them not being in their club, you are now on the right.
There are elements of like people can like scream it's too woke, kind of just like preemptively, like just saying, oh, because there are like people of color who are cast in like roles that a lot of people assume to be white. It's kind of just like, I don't care as long as they're a good actor, and they can kind of like get into a boy who cried wolf situation sometimes. But yeah.
Well, oversensitivity can be an issue, but that sensitivity came from somewhere in the first place, which isn't ever acknowledged.
And get replaced community approved ones. Conservative news, conservative YouTube, conservative Wikipedia if he's really committed. The algorithm soon takes note and stops recommending media from the left. He stops watching shows with a liberal agenda, which usually means shows starring women and people of color. Now, there is evidence that the human mind responds to fictional characters similarly to real people.
Okay, that is not what that means, by the way. That is a very watered down, ignorant, idea of what a liberal agenda pushing show is. All right, it's ones that star black people and women. It's like, no.
Star Wars is mostly white, as far as I can see, and that has kind of become very much liberal. And then Rise of Skywalker is just a stupid train wreck on a level with the Transformers movies. That just doesn't have time to do anything other than just bam, 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 stupid thing after stupid thing. Like, what is it? Like Terminator, there's only like one token woman of color in that whole film.
There are
the Terminator Dark Fate, I mean.
there are plenty of TV shows that cater to every kind of demographic. Black families, black adult sitcoms. Obviously, we see the mixed races and Asian. All kinds of soap operas from South America. They're all over. There's something for everyone on TV because TV is not really dying. It just has to adapt to the challenges of what streaming services are providing. So
just watch Modern Family for shit's sake.
I do find it interesting that this is the first time that he's brought in any kind of evidence to support his claims. I'm not saying that this is credible, but I haven't really looked at it. But I find it interesting that of all the stuff that he said so far, he waited until now to bring in some proof.
If you do go to
what he's saying has merit.
Yeah, if you do go to his video, he has a whole bunch of links to all sorts of stuff in his description. So he does provide things, and I'm glad he's pointing to it. But in the actual video explanation, there's almost nothing. You're like, what are you talking about?
It can decrease in ways roughly analogous to having a diverse group of friends, which is one of many reasons we say representation matters. By consuming a homogeneous media diet, Gabe stymies his ability to have even parasocial relationships with anyone who isn't a cishet conservative white dude or one of their approved exceptions. To the extent that any of this happens, it happens at Gabe's discretion and at his own chosen pace.
Good for him. He likes certain kinds of media. That's great. What's your point?
Yeah. In general, what is it? The problem with representation is when it's forced, not when it's organic.
But it's when it's just there, but you're not saying anything.
Yeah.
Or if it's specifically about what you're talking about, like if you're doing a civil rights movie, I would expect there to be civil rights discussion, like treatment of African American people in that specific time period discussion. Like that would make sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like forcing other ethnic groups into a historical setting where it is reasonable to believe that there wouldn't be any, forcing that in there versus, like the Cosby Show. Like, going back to that, is that everyone loved the Cosby Show, but when you put forced representation into a setting that it doesn't make sense for, it's not only going to stand out, but if people even suspect that it's some kind of tokenism or something, it's going to be off-putting for anyone who doesn't like their media to be messed with, like on a producer level.
There's also kind of the element of, it seems as though the left is very inconsistent when it comes to the definition of tokenism, because they'll decry this is great in other ways. Like Finn is the token black stereotype. That's all he is.
I would say Jacob Taylor in Mass Effect 2 would be a token. When you think of a black man, he has certain relationships with women. He has certain relationships with his father. And he's sort of off-putting here and there. He's not as friendly as he used to be. He's just like saluting a lot. He's very militaristic. And that's that. He wants someone for sex, pretty much, in certain cases. So that would be tokenism in a certain regard. I don't know about Finn, though. Finn was just... They could have gotten anyone. I don't think it would have mattered for his character. There wasn't much there. And I believe he even referred to Finn as a protagonist in the a short clip he was using, which is completely unrelated, I bet, to what he was arguing. But here's Stryker. This is a snowflake's idea of the alt-right. I don't know if this is a snowflake. I haven't even figured out what this guy is thinking, let alone I can't characterize him properly. You're either on the left or wrong. That's true. Yeah, he's pretty much saying that.
Yeah, it's kind of just like, no, like it's just these people think that conservatives in general are evil. It's just like, no, not necessarily. There are like evil people or bad people in every single political group on the face of planet Earth. It's just how the world works.
He just sees them as alt-right in general. I don't know. It's hard to describe how he's getting from not being left, therefore alt-right.
It has not been forced on him, only encouraged and rewarded. But the fact that it hasn't been forced can make him all the more willing to accept it, because it seems...
I'm going to reward you for watching a show with white guys. What the hell? Like, what does that mean? I'm going to metaphorically pat you on the head. Is that it? Okay.
Seems safe to consider. Even though his life and social circle are changing to accommodate, he does not feel committed. But many Gabes have walked these halls, and if they close the door behind them, there is nowhere left to go but down.
Yeah, it sounds like a slippery slope to me.
Wow. Once you go past this point, you can't go back. I quite remember a lot of people, young people, who, well, they're now bread tubers, but they believed in limited government and this and that. And then they saw the light. Now they're communists. So does it work both ways? I don't know. Can you leave the large pit you've dug yourself in? I don't know. Oh boy, we're in part 4 already. Raise their power level. What are we talking about? Oh my god.
I have no idea.
We increased the amps. We just plugged voice into more reputable forms of alternating current. He's like, ooh. I'm stronger.
Or raise their power level. And they say we ruined anime. Consider the ecosystem of the alt-right as...
Well, you kind of did. In the West, at least.
Yeah.
layers of an onion, with Gabe sitting at the edge and ready to traverse.
Geez, another analogy of being at the edge. Oh, he's using the onion now. Oh, we couldn't understand the Venn diagram. We couldn't understand the deep interconnected web of the alt-right. Now it's an onion. It's like, okay. It's the same damn image.
Towards
It's like an
no,
onion.
I'm not just going.
If you smell it, you cry.
Yeah. The PewDiePie. Oh my God, what is this?
He's not that big a deal. Like, he's made some anti-Semite jokes, but he's mostly just he's an edgy teenager in a man's body.
Oh boy.
I'm going to reiterate the PewDie pipeline, though if you haven't seen it, I recommend that you do. The outer layer of the onion is extremism at its most plausibly deniable. Without careful scrutiny, the public-facing figureheads...
Oh, come on. The Rubin Report is another gateway drug to alt-rightism, really? A gay man who used to be on the far left? Okay, fine, whatever.
This feels like this feels like the Red Panic in a lot of ways.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
As dispatch and the websites as merely problematic rather than softly fascist. It is valuable if anyone believes this as well, that at this stage...
Vaguely problematic instead of, like, fascist.
There we go. Kekistan is home to all sorts of... What is that? Is that like old military outfits from medieval Germany? What is the pit helmets? What is going on?
Wow. Look at all those peepos.
Oh dear. Death to Brianna? Who's that?
They saying the Peepo is racist or something?
How could you be so mean to that little boy?
He believed the bigotry is simply trolling, extremists an insignificant minority, and any report of harassment faked. That he believed where he is as deep as the rabbit hole goes, and that he continue to believe this at each successive layer. People in the deepest crevices of the alt-right self-report getting red-pilled on multiple issues at different times in their journey to this.
I'm so red-pilled, bro. I'm in the center of the onion. I have all the memes. What is going on? What is he talking about?
I am all the memes.
Not to mention, I mean, was it? He's kind of what defining the opposition. Like if you're anything other than with him, you're against him on the slippery slope.
I want to know.
You have to vilify your opposition to make you seem reasonable by comparison.
I want to know what he's talking about with this rabbit hole. Like, what are the layers? He's talking about the outer layer, and now suddenly we're in the middle. What happened to all the other layers? If there's so many layers of an onion,
a little bit.
There's so many layers. I've listed 2.
The outer and the inner.
At each successive layer. People in the deepest crevices of the alt-right self-report getting red-pilled on multiple issues at different times in their journey to the center of the onion. If Gabe's first red pill is about the SJWs coming for his free speech, he'll think that's all anyone in his community believes. There's no real racism here, people are just making a point about their right to offend people. Then, when he gets red-pilled on the white genocide, he'll laugh at those alt-light cucks who...
What is going on here?
What's happening?
I don't know.
I think that... I reiterate. People who believe in white genocide are stupid. They are weird eugenicists like Movie Bob. And we laugh at both because they are both equally stupid.
They are very, very dumb between them.
Like, nobody takes these people seriously if they have sense. You are... It seems as though the main thing that they want to do is equate us with these stupid people to try and delegitimize our arguments.
Yeah, exactly. It's that they just... what he's doing here is he's saying that, if you don't agree with the arguments being... or if you don't agree with us and you do agree with or you have a problem with us, then you will have then that's somehow bad. It's like it's clear in my head, but he's just not... You can't have a problem with the left. If you have a problem with the left, then that means that you're vaguely fascist.
It's almost like it's a spectrum and every individual sits at a different point in that spectrum, and it's not a simple one category or another.
Well, he tried to do that with the onion analogy, but he didn't actually explain it. So,
no, exactly.
For instance, I am firmly against racism and sexism, and I think that most sane people are. However, I hate what leftist ideologies did to Star Wars and have made it so asininely stupid and devoid of anything that's good that I'm just
like, you have unread
I
messages at your private terminal.
You're trying to fix a problem in a way that makes fixing the problem abhorrent to a lot of people.
All right, here's a super chat I got to read because it's so weird. Does he also believe video games can cause climate change? That's a thing that the media is pushing now. I've never heard of this. I don't think I want to.
What?
Video games can cause climate change. Okay, we're veering way off normalcy, and we're already far away. So let's.
That's a topic for another time.
I got to research that one. Oh my god.
That's so bad.
Yeah, let's just go back to the video.
Under the rug, and at himself for having once been one, but acknowledge that those websites are still useful for onboarding people, so he won't denounce them. At the same time, nobody takes those manosphere betas seriously, and this process is reiterated with every pill swallowed.
Manosphere what?
I'm lost. I don't even know what he's talking about.
Let's try that again.
People, so he won't denounce them. At the same time, nobody takes those manosphere and at himself for having once been one, but acknowledge that those channels and websites are still useful for onboarding people, so he won't denounce them. At the same time, nobody takes those manosphere betas seriously.
Manosphere betas?
Who is he referring to?
I don't know who this man is.
Go backwards again. I'm confused which group he's referring to.
To offend people. Then, when he gets red-pilled on the white genocide, he'll laugh at those alt-light cucks who tried to sweep...
Alt-light cucks. Who is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Is he talking about, is it like a play on words for alt-right, as in the alt-right are just white people? And so they are light-skinned, and therefore it is alt-light, clever joke.
Maybe it was alt-left? I don't know. Because L instead of right? I don't know. So many terms he's using. We're like, what is he on about?
I feel like I need a verbal dictionary for this video.
Yeah, like he should have like a description of every word he uses and just describes what he's talking about.
And you realize, because we don't understand what the meaning of the terms he is using, we are already vilified as not being on his side.
Yeah,
and therefore we are right, because we don't know what alt-light means.
The race
We're
realism.
already lost.
Check the chat, the Smudcast chat.
Roosh has a job, or people are... Who's Roosh? What are you talking about?
Oh, no, sorry. I mean our chat.
Oh, sorry. The many ways video game development impacts the climate crisis. All right, I'm not touching that link. No, not doing it. Nope.
So stupid. That's just stupid beyond words.
All right, let's just go.
The rug, and at himself for having once been one, but acknowledge that those channels and websites are still useful for onboarding people, so he won't denounce them. At the same time, nobody takes those manosphere betas seriously. And this process is reiterated with every pill swallowed. Gender essentialism, autogynephilia, birtherism, Sandy Hook truth.
What is happening? What are
these words? Explain what these words are.
Sandy Hook truth?
What is birtherism?
Birthism.
Is it like anti-abortion laws, or
what is this?
Either that or something like gender essentialism. I know what essentialism is, more or less, but I'm guessing that it's saying that what is that? Gender identity is a good thing, and you should embrace the one you were born with. I'm guessing. I have no idea, though.
Pizzagate was a hashtag on Twitter. I know that, but
can I Smud, what's this guy's name?
This gentleman is, let's see,
Films or something?
Innuendo Studios.
Right. I just want to make it clear to Innuendo. He's never going to see this, but I assume this video has been created to be some kind of educational tool. You're wanting to teach people, yes? Instead of, unless this is solely created to be sort of like confirmationism to people who are already subscribed and fully on board with you. But if your intention with this video is to convince people, you have to explain what these words are for people who don't know what they are.
Let me look up autogynephilia, because I've never heard that word.
Unless this is essentially a video for confirmation biased with your viewers and anyone that already agrees with you. If this video is intended to be educational to those outside your political medium, you're going to have to explain what these words mean.
Oh, there's no way he's being objective and clear-headed and critical. No way.
Okay.
How the hell are these the layers of the onion? That makes no sense to me.
Okay, so what it means is, as a noun, what it means is the paraphilic tendency of someone who is automatically male to be sexually aroused by the thought of being female.
You have unread messages at your private terminal.
Considered to be a form of gender identity disorder or transvestic fetishism.
Really? I can do that in my head right now. That's not a problem. Okay.
And I'm confused. Does that make you a bad guy?
I don't know.
Is this a bad thing?
I think so. Or is the opposite bad? I don't know.
I guess it's like the the belief of that is bad, but Pizzagate, I don't know why he's thinking Pizzagate.
The hashtag makes you bad. I don't know.
Pizzagate is a debunked conspiracy theory that went viral in 2016. Birtherism. Let me look at birther definition. Oh, birther is basically just like the idea that that Barack Obama was born outside the U.S.
I don't know. Was he?
Was not.
Okay.
Basically, the only reason why they wanted to do that was because they didn't want him to be president. And if you are not a natural-born citizen in the U.S., you cannot legally be president.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello, comrade.
How do you say hello? How are you guys doing?
Oh my God, we're trying to understand this video. We just can't do it.
I came up with some ways to explain it because I realized that you guys don't know some of the terms. I know what he's talking about, so I'm here. Let me change my.
Do enlighten us.
I have the perfect profile pic for this. So here we go. So he's saying like Pizzagate. You guys know what that is? All the it's all about the. It's about like the child trafficking conspiracy. It's that there's Epstein, there's blackmail groups, there's all this high end stuff, and if you want to look into that, just look into the case that's actually actively going through the court right now that has to do with Ghislaine Maxwell. They can't hide it. It's actually true. So there's that, and then there's the Sandy Hook thing, which is the thing with Alex Jones saying that Sandy Hook was not an operational school when there was the school shooting there, meaning it was a fake operation to get people to give up their guns. That's what that conspiracy is. Birtherism is the idea that Obama was not born legally as a United States citizen. The Hawaiian thing, he wasn't. It was the Hawaiian birth certificate was forged. Sheriff Joe Arpaio was the one that brought that forward and believed he had forensic evidence. Autogynephilia has to do with the idea. It's not Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's something. There's some psychologist who said. Some people that are transgender are actually autogynephiliacs who just fetishize the idea of having a vagina, but they're actually gay men. And gender essentialism, I think, is the idea that biological sex overall is what determines whatever gender would be. So people that are against John Money. Is that suitable enough explanation for everything?
Very good, Glib. That's very knowledgeable. Good to have American on the board here to know what we're talking about.
Yes. It's fun. It's always funny when people... because the only way that people know how to fight these ideas, I think that there's a good 4chan post that was brought up where any open forum eventually becomes right wing. To maintain the left wing vision, you have to censor people, and that's how they do this: is that they slander people, and then they get censored, and then there's no argument, and the people that win the argument are whoever's in control of the authoritarianism. And I think that that's pretty telling, because how many free and open socialist states do you know of?
Can't say I know the states very well, so I can't.
Right.
All right, let's see what the other two layers are.
Pizzagate, QAnon if he's really out there, the heart of the onion.
Okay, what's QAnon? I don't know what that is.
Oh, I know what that is too. So QAnon, there's this, somebody started posting on one of the poll boards in 2017, I want to say, claiming that they had Q level clearance. Q level clearance refers to the Department of Energy. And that is a security clearance that is caveated that can get classified material or secret. I think it goes up to secret and top. I don't know about top secret, but whatever. The point is that the idea is that there's this guy named Q who is signing his posts, or as a group or something like that, with a trip code on 8chan, specifically Bunker Chan and all that. And they have some sort of inside knowledge of the Trump campaign's doings, and they are both giving out insider information so that people on Twitter can disseminate that information and create memes and basically impromptu propaganda or essentially truth-telling in a lot of ways, but also just like targeting specific people for accusations that aren't necessarily known by the public society, by bringing those things to the forefront of the public and informing people. They basically convert them not into necessarily Trump supporters, but people that are against the deep state. Now, is it true? I don't know. I like to play with it, but it hasn't always been accurate. And the explanation for that Q is given is that some of the things aren't for you. Some of them are misdirections. And I'm like, yeah, or it's a guy that's LARPing. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is that that's what that is. It's not alt-right. It's not trying to convert you into some sort of fascist. It's trying to keep you informed on what the plan is. But if you go back to the very first Q post, it said that Hillary Clinton would be arrested in 2017. I don't think that that's true. I don't know where she is. Is she under arrest somewhere? Do we not know? But some of the things that Q has predicted have come true. Some of them have been very close, and some of them have not come true. And that's why it's, it could be a LARP or it could be legitimate. I think erring on the side of LARP is a good idea. However, the effect that Q has had on public discourse has been phenomenally hilarious to watch. And I got to just ask you, why is Tom Hanks a Greek citizen? You answer that question for me. I know that's out there, but just think about that. Nobody has to answer that. Just figure it out on your own.
All right. Thank you very much, Glib. Let's see the last one.
Is typically the Jewish question.
The Jewish question.
But
the Jewish question. Is that the same joke he was making before about blame the Jews?
Well, at the bottom, he's saying of all of the alt-right is the idea that the Jews are in control of everything, because that's what 4chan or 8chan's poll thinks. It's like, hey, look, have you noticed that all these people and they're so powerful disproportionately, and then people go, okay, well, they must be in control of everything. I personally think it's a naive view to think that any one person has control over this world. There's so many different sides of it. But it's funny that it always comes down to the Jewish question on when people are talking about the alt-right or when people in poll are discussing something. And part of me thinks that that's a little weird on its own and a little suspicious. But that's what he's trying to say. Is at the heart of the layer of the alt-right is the anti-Semitism that Jews have been subverting the world society for hundreds of years, and they're the core of all the problems. And anybody can make whatever thought they want on that they wish. You know what I mean? I'm just telling you what goes on.
All right. Jeez.
These can happen in any order and in any number. But each
Wait. If they can happen in any order and number, then what's the point of having a hierarchy? It wouldn't be an onion layer. It would just be a basket. You just have stuff.
It'd just be a soup.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to know what was going on there, it's just a bunch of anonymous people that they try and they're arguing over what the truth is, and they've come to this conclusion, or a common conclusion, or a common set of conclusions that they debate over.
But
it's not this complicated.
Why the onion analogy? Why the onion analogy if this can happen in any order instead of it being like a rabbit hole to go down, as he said?
Besides, Glib, you're wrong. This guy told me that they're Nazis.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that if you unveiled whatever, who was actually behind a lot of these anonymous accounts, you would find people of all races and religions. It's just they're all pretending to be, in on this thing. That's the thing. And because there's race involved and there's unchangeable things, you have people that might have the same opinion as somebody else getting derided because of their identity. It's like, oh, you're a transgender person. Well, then why do you have right-wing ideologies? What are you? You don't belong here. You're a degenerate, that kind of thing. That's what they're going to hear. But at the same time, that person might have the same point of view and think that they're broken or something. So again, I take it back to this video is upset that there are people discussing these things. And so he has to find a way to censor it or make it so that you can't have these discussions. Whereas I'm like, I'm on the side of, go and have the discussion. If you want to make a fool of yourself, show it to the world.
Yeah, he wants to, he's painting with a broad brush, all of these different ideas and groups as, alt-right. He wants to basically make, not only actually racist and Nazi people, so white supremacists, the bad guys, but anyone who's remotely adjacent to them at all, or even and going so far as to say that people who say anything bad against the left are gateways to the far right, and therefore are just as bad as the alt-right, so that so that nobody can listen to those ideas. He wants to make everyone afraid of listening to anyone who isn't with him,
right,
or approved.
Because then you could say like Ben Shapiro, because you can't say he's part of the alt-right because there's the Jewish question and part of this onion, but he's a gateway to the alt-right, which is like, okay.
Right. He's saying that like basically the further right you go, the more you turn into a Nazi. And I take issue with that because that's so convenient for people that want to discard ideas that would be anywhere in between. If you can just say all these people, they're on a slippery slope to the right wing, to Nazism, and therefore we discard them, then wow, that's really convenient. That means that you don't have to legitimize or take at face value any of the ideas that are proposed by anybody that's right of you. And the problem that I have is that if we're going to live in a free and open society, you have to be able to have a good argument against somebody and make that argument and allow them to make that argument, because that's actual progression. That's actual productive discourse in society. What's not is trying to slander your opposition and try and make them into Nazis when they're not. There are Nazis out there, but they're not in charge of the right wing. They're not in charge of any political organization other than what they espouse. And that's inherently self-limiting. Now, what bothers me is that people like me get called a Nazi. Or if I'm saying I'm a libertarian, if I'm saying I believe in the democratic republic that America's founded on, then I'm a Nazi. That doesn't make any sense to me. But this video will tell you, oh, he listens to Dave Rubin sometimes or whatever, which I don't. But if I do, then I'm a bad person. That's what this is basically trying to do. Now, imagine if we said all the people that are left of center, they're all really communists, right? Would they get upset about that? Or would they be like, yeah, of course, that makes sense, yeah. No, because they see a black and white morality where their idea is correct and everybody else is wrong. And that's what I'm afraid of, because that's the tyranny of evil men.
Layer self as being finally the ultimate truth. Each denies the validity of the others. The layers ahead, they don't exist, and you are certainly not being directed towards them. They're just the fevered imaginations of overreacting liberals, while the people behind are asleep, where you are now awake. That's why they chose the red pill as their metaphor. Take it, and everything will be revealed. That's why it cozies up with conspiracism. But what's supposed to
How do you like that?
is that this knowledge help Gabe in some way,
This video's the
and
definition
it
of
doesn't.
conspiracism.
Blaming immigrants doesn't actually fix the economy, and hating women doesn't make men less lonely.
That's not at all what it is. The people that are against the immigration thing are because any job that could be done by an immigrant, unless it's this very specific, narrow expertise, could be done by a local, a native. But we can't have that argumentation because, oh, what? If I get labeled a Nazi for saying that maybe borders are a good idea, then what? Even though every nation in history has had borders. You don't understand this stupid... Everybody knows it. It's on the tip of everybody's tongues, but we can't do anything about it because these so-called rebels are controlled... these so-called rebels and resistance-type people have the consent and the co-signing and the support of all these big tech companies that want people to be censored so that they can control the narrative. It's disgusting.
But having been alienated from everything outside the onion, once that sinks in, the only recourse on offer is to seek out the next pill. And pills are easy to find. Those within the network have laissez-faire relationships, even if they on paper disavow one another. When they need a source or a guest host, they aren't going to go to the left. They're going to feature each other. The left is the enemy. Their ideas are beneath consideration, and the only reason to engage them is for public humiliation. But you can...
That's what Ben Shapiro says, because he's basically dismissing leftists that have this socialistic view as being non-American, that they don't want to engage in liberal society. So you should just make fun of them. You know what I mean?
My policy is if you say stupid things and say them consistently, you are free game.
Well, I've never listened to him, but if he's saying that, the far left are a problem, but people on the left are not, then there isn't an issue. If he's saying anyone left of him is a problem, then that is a problem.
Well, I was watching Joe Rogan when Michael Hunter was on it. He's a chef from Toronto, which I like his restaurant. So sometimes I watch.
You can interview a Western chauvinist, and that doesn't mean you're endorsing him. Just, it's fine to hear him out. Nothing should be off limits in the marketplace of ideas. Besides, Nazis are apolitical.
So
Wow.
That's I know that's dumb. But I just want to say I love the idea that he wants to deplatform people based on his political opinion, and then he complains about Nazis. Do you see anything in common with these two parties?
But he also said that you're allowed to interview anyone because it doesn't count as endorsing them. So where does he stand exactly?
Well,
He's being sarcastic. He's saying basically that interviewing people does support them.
Oh.
That's the same thing that Quentin was saying. Remember when he said every time you give Ben Shapiro a platform, you're humanizing him? These people don't want you to exist, and they just can't figure out a way to get rid of you. That's the real thing. They don't want Gavin McInnes to be on Joe Rogan's thing, even if Joe Rogan has the CEO of Twitter on there next week, or he's got Tim Pool, or he's got this woman, or this guy, or whoever. The idea that people are people, and you can interview anybody on the planet. What's the problem with that? That's what history is.
That sounds pretty inclusive to me.
This guy wants to editorialize and control the narrative and not give platforms to people that he disagrees with, and then he wants to call them Nazis when he's doing the same behavior as any authoritarian.
All right, here's a super chat that's on topic. Thank you, sir. 99 Kresnik. Cool. This section just reminds me of The Righteous Mind, in which a lefty professor did a study on fundamental moral values. Basically, the right understands the left well, but the reverse is not the case. I think it's not a matter of the right understanding the left. I think it's the left who, I think the way that Glib put it was that they want to get rid of you somehow. They can't argue. They don't know what to say. So they're going to try and delegitimize your platform, try to get you canceled, say whatever it takes to get this person not to have a mouthpiece, pretty much.
I think that if you're an ideologue, you have a trouble understanding people who have opposing views.
Sure, unless your ideology is like mine, where it's you want idealistically this vain assumption that at some point humanity will reach a peaceful and equally treating civilization that holds up meritocracy and the best as the best, and that we also agree that people should be treated fairly and individually based on their actions. Like, oh, I'm sorry that my morals that are ancient are now suddenly Nazi when it's inconvenient to leftists. Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, I wouldn't say you're an ideologue, though.
No, I wouldn't say that I was an ideologue either, but I am an idealistic person. But I am also a pragmatist, and pragmatism is not ideological.
And because these folks keep showing up in each other's metadata, regardless of what they say, Google thinks there is definitely a relationship between the guy just asking questions and the guy denying the Holocaust.
Oh my God. He's trying to explain the algorithm is causing this?
It's Google's fault.
Oh dear.
Conspiracy theory.
I guess it's okay if you're using Bing. I don't know.
Google is a circle jerk by its very makeup. It will automatically search up stuff you will like, so you will keep using it as your search engine. That's just how this works.
Gabe,
I just want to say to that $10 super chat that I get what you're talking about, because when I was a kid, I was kind of Democrat leftist, like the idea that we need a welfare net, a safety net for people to fall back on if something really bad happens, if they can't afford this or that. And so, like, my understanding of the leftist causes, I understand it's like idealism. It's what you want to see. You want everybody to have healthcare. You want everybody to have a house. You want everybody to be employed and have a good job that they can do what they want. But the pragmatism, like I just said, is that we live in reality. We were born under circumstances. We weren't born in this isn't heaven. This isn't utopia. This is something that we perform society every day. We perform civilization every day. We build up and break down our businesses and our camps essentially every single day. And I think that that's the thing that the basic right-wing people, the people that are being pushed by the Overton window that's shifting these days, that are going vaguely towards the Trumpy thing, is because they're realizing that their personal property and their jobs and their individual desires are now at risk of being taken over by people who have vast sociological interests in changing society substantially with government. And that scares people, because the idea that you could lose your right to defend yourself, or the idea that you could lose your right to speak, or the idea to associate with who you want, is basically taking away many of the things that make you a free human being with your own power and your own individual will. And I think that that fear that the left instills in center people is why they're losing so much. And it's this kind of thing that as soon as you realize, oh, you know what, I'm not really like super socially leftist kind of thing. I kind of just, I'm a little bit of a centrist. Then you start to see the way that you get treated. Once you're outside of that bubble of being on the left and you see how they will eat each other for the sake of whoever can stay most virtuous and the purest, you realize, I better regroup with some people that aren't that crazy, that aren't going to attack me for my opinion if it's a little different, or if I think things should go a different way. That's been my experience in lefty Hollywood and Los Angeles. They hate it when you point out something that's not a part of the plan. It's the Joker thing.
Well, one of the problems is that of the far left is that they're anti-sovereignty, and whether or not you're left, center, or sort of left, center, or right, all of those people believe in sovereignty to some extent, but the far left want to abolish that, and so anytime those issues kind of come up is when you start alienating everyone else. And then they need videos like this. They need dogma like this video to prevent people from escaping them.
How are we doing for time, guys? It is almost 8:30 here, Eastern Standard Time. I know Voice is a good boy. He likes to go to bed on time.
No, I'm doing good right now.
You all right? All right. We can keep going for another half an hour. I don't want to keep us too late. We're not going to be able to finish the video, unfortunately. But we'll have another part tomorrow, the day after, and we'll top it off then. So let's keep on going then.
Exposed to many flavors of conservatism, just slightly more radical than he is now, and is expected, at the very least, to not question their presence. This is an environment...
I highly doubt that. That's a strange thing to say.
You can question anything.
The whole point of political discourse is to question and keep questioning. You don't just stop saying, "Oh, this is the right answer." It's never that way with politics.
Where de-radicalizing, listening to the left, would be sleeping with the enemy. But radicalizing...
I highly doubt that. No. Lots of people welcome argument when you're asking questions, so no.
I like how the 4chan user's white. It's so obvious. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the right wing's white and the left wing is all everybody else. You're isolated white people. Like, come on, bro. There's a lot of 4chan users.
Buddy? Gabe's emotional journey, however, is somewhat more common.
Emotional journey? This is getting silly now. He's talking about his feelings of this imaginary person. I guess we're going to go into ethics now. What's morally right and wrong? It's so much projection of what this person is and isn't. What he thinks it should be right or wrong. It's just, oh my goodness.
The thing that's annoying about the left is that they kind of just have this, like, nobody has, like, a unified code of morality, but they all say that, like, this is moral, this is this is what's right. And just, like, a lot of people care. I know what's right and wrong. I know that racism is bad. I know, that, like, you have shifted the goalposts so many times that what that means anymore.
I think that's the main this is the same issue that King Emperor Penguin had with us, was that we were not having moral arguments against these other YouTubers or when we do Smudcast. And I was like, we don't need to. This is not the point of Smudcast, is to see who's on a higher morality or whether their morality is right or wrong. We don't care where you're coming from or why you think the way you do. We're looking at the argument as a series of logic syllogisms that connect or not connect. That's it.
Yeah, morally, I might be a piece of shit, but if I say something that is correct, I'm still correct.
Yeah. I would rather take a fleet of Nazi whatever if they were making good arguments. I don't care where you're coming from. Now, as soon as you start hurting people, that's another story. But if you're just sitting there baking a cake or petting a dog, what do I care what you think?
Complex. Spend any time reading or watching
Whoa, what's going on? Okay, we've got I know everyone except the bottom and the bottom middle and the left middle.
Thunderfoot, you're an alt-writer. Get wrecked. You're on the same page as Steven Crowder and Richard Spencer. By the way, Richard Spencer endorsed Biden.
Oh.
By the way, who's the middle left?
Middle left? That's Richard Spencer.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, I don't.
You got Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, Thunderfoot, Richard Spencer, what's his name? Sufjan Stevens.
Stephen
Molyneux. Steven Crowder. The missing lobster.
Yeah.
Blair White and Dave Rubin.
There you go.
What's so bad about Blair White? Why did they hate her? Usually the left is like all over women unless they're actively racist like them are.
I'll tell you why. She is a trans woman who does not buy all of the Kool-Aid. You understand? She's not she doesn't believe that biological sex is lesser than gender, and therefore she gets outed constantly as this right-wing figurehead or something. Which is funny to me because if we're talking about like it's a sliding scale and eventually you'll be a fascist, think about all these people that we're looking at right now that would be shot by actual Nazis. I think Ben Shapiro would probably obviously be on the chopping block. Joe Rogan maybe would get a pass. Thunderfoot definitely. Richard Spencer he's like an SA guy. He's like Rom. He gets killed in the Night of Long Knives. Stephen Molyneux will probably be able to be exiled to an island. Crowder will be shot for being Canadian. I don't know, Blair White is transgender. Like all these people, a gay conservative, like that's not fascism. That's not National Socialism. That's not acceptable. These people are conservatives. That's the real problem that the left has, is that populist conservatism is winning. They're upset about that.
They don't see diversity of politics and beliefs. It's only diversity of color and ethnicity.
It's ridiculous.
They want a unified like code of morality.
Look at all these pale people.
Your group, right? Yeah, your outward appearance or your outward attributes are what define you. And if you don't agree with the accepted politics of that group, then you are a traitor of some kind.
It's very similar to the Tao Te Ching, where there's I can't remember the exact line or the translation, where the average man can't understand the wise man, but they can describe his appearance. That's all they can do, is just look at other people and say, this is what they look like. They say these things we don't understand. It must be wrong.
Yeah, like I said, it's only diversity of, what's on the outside and not what actually people believe. Because I could imagine a lot of these people all having different perspectives to everyone else.
For sure, yeah. No, I think everyone here would be happy to talk to anyone on the left. Like everyone would be more than
They won't come on.
Exactly. The same with
they're afraid of us.
Jesse Gender and the Goldman. Oh, we're too busy. Or we just got scared. We didn't have enough excuse to come on the Smudcast.
I don't want to be ganged up on by 4 men. Really? I'm not sure about that.
I would probably just be asking questions.
We wouldn't even do anything. Yeah, we wouldn't do anything aggressive. We would just be talking about our fandom and having a good time. That's all we would do. That's all we did with John when he came on. That was great.
Yeah.
Got a super chat right here.
Probably noticed it's really fucking repetitive. It's a few.
Wow, just like every other leftist bread tuber who says someone is a racist, Nazi, this or that.
I don't think that Joe Rogan is really repetitive, except for the sketches that he always does with the LA comedians, or not sketches, but like the No Fat November shit and like whatever they do every year. But he has so many different. He's the best podcaster, man. He gets everybody on his show. Why? Because everybody feels like they can talk to Joe Rogan. If you feel like you can't talk to Joe Rogan, there's something wrong with you. Because he's not going to do anything to you. He's going to listen to you. And Dave Rubin too. Like, I'm not a fan of Dave Rubin because I'm not interested. But he's not a bad interviewer. He's never said anything to me that I've gone like, wow, that's fucking dumb. What the hell?
Here is...
and by the way, Thunderfoot is leftist, so get the fuck out of here.
I don't know about that one. That's strange. So Rocky Desert Flower gave a super chat.
Yeah.
Richard Spencer refused to condemn Hitler when David Pacman encouraged him to do so. That's, I don't know. That's
I believe no. Look, Richard Spencer, absolutely. That's like the guy that defines the alt-right. But let me ask this. I want to know if Richard Spencer disavows the people in the CIA that he knows. Get back to me, Richie. Fucking, what a fraud. This guy is not the real deal. Okay, all these people that are on the alt-right that are part of these big organizations they're all honeypots. Okay, Adam Waffen, American Vanguard. We get it. You're all fucking controlled opposition, okay? So please shut up and go do something else. That's me condemning the alt-right, quote unquote.
I just think that the alt-right is mostly made up of idiots.
I don't think that there is like an alt-right thing. It's like totally like a phrase that is just a blanket thing to say Nazi without saying Nazi. Like people that could be considered alt-right. If it's Thunderfoot to Crowder to Spencer, that's everybody that's right of Stalin.
True.
1,000 phrasings of the same handful of arguments. Like, there's only so many jokes about attack helicopters. But these people just crank out content, and most of it's derivative. The reason to pick one personality over another isn't because they say something different, but because they say it differently. Gabe just picks the affect it's delivered in. Repetition dulls the shock of the most.
Wow, you could say this about any ideology. Pick anything in history where there's more than one person talking about it. Pick an area of philosophy, whether it's aesthetics or ethics or metaphysics. Just different person, same topic. Wow, that's great. What a silly argument. What? There's so many YouTubers. They all say that they all talk about the same thing. They say it differently though. It's like, yes.
Could it be that the media we're talking about has the exact same problems over and over and over again, and we're sick of crap?
Yeah. If you subtract the alt-right from this argument, what you have is a lot of nuance. It's like if you actually know who these people are and what they're actually saying, that there's a lot of nuance on a broad spectrum. And if that's what he's condemning, then what he's in favor of is uniformity and almost xenophobia of ideas.
Here is a professional specialist. Thank you. This is in regards to the YouTuber that we're watching. Smash as a spectator sport is this guy's only good video. Everything else is trash. He pretends to be in the know, but had no idea PewDiePie had 100 million subs. I'm not going to fault him for that. It's just that he does these weird interpretations of things and misses out the context.
You have unread messages at your private terminal.
I'm not sure why he's doing these long videos that don't have enough substance. And if you look at the description of his video, there's all these links. So I'm assuming he did some homework, but he's not showing or presenting it in a believable way for me, especially for a layman like myself who doesn't know half of this terminology. And we're just sitting there going, is Thunderfoot alt-right? I don't think so. I really don't think so. But apparently he's a gateway to the alt-right. So it's like, okay, if you say so.
But by that logic, anything can be a gateway to anything. So what's a gateway to Thunderfoot?
Science magazines? I have no idea.
It's also interesting that this is kind of a one-way problem, because if you're right of let's say Sargon, and then you listen to Sargon, does that help? Is he a gateway then to the left? Do you then eventually get beyond him and are full-blown left? I just find it interesting that there's zero awareness of this one-way problem.
How does that translate to watching the Young Turks at any point in history and going, oh yeah, this is a great show. I'm going to want to learn about leftism or something.
If you want to watch the Young Turks in their best form, subscribe to Dame Pesos. He's the one that did the 2016 meltdown video that Trump retweeted. He's absolutely destroyed the Young Turks over and over again. And the best one I think that everybody should watch, that's mandatory watching, is he's got an hour-long documentary on the history of the Young Turks, and it's fabulous. I could never make anything as funny as this taco, and you got to sub to him. He's a minority. You're a racist if you don't sub.
Does he showcase? Does he showcase Dave Rubin, that whole fiasco in that video? Glib? I guess not. Okay. Striker, this guy's video just made me alt-right. Thank you, person. Yeah, apparently. Who knew? Who knew we were already in the onion, and everyone was a gateway to being alt-right? It's like
didn't even know it.
It's the same problem with playing certain video games. You're suddenly a Nazi. Who knew?
Most egregious, making them appear normal and prepping him for more extreme ideas. Meanwhile, the arguments themselves, they're not good. Like, BreadTube will never run out of shit to debunk. They are repetitive because they're not good. They're mantric. A good argument you only need to hear one time. If you can follow it, internalize it, and explain it to someone else, you know you've understood it.
Wait. That's anything. That's not an argument. That's just information.
If you say something and they understand it, what?
2 + 2 is 4. I understand basic addition. Oh, wait, let me go tell someone how addition works. Sir, what do you...
what I'm getting from that is that this is a reason why you don't have to reiterate what you're saying. You sort of mention something once and then you move on to the next point and assume that everyone agrees and understands you. And then you just, do that repeatedly until you get to the end of your video, because repeating yourself is bad. That's proof that what you're saying isn't right or is poorly constructed. If you if you reiterate at all, if you repeat yourself at all.
But an argument can't convince you on its own merits, so it will often rely on affect. This can be the snappy, thought-terminating cliche, or the long, winding diatribe that sounds really sensible while you're hearing it, but when someone asks you for the gist, you can only say, go watch these 17 videos and it'll all make sense. Both these approaches are...
Wow, you hear that exactly the same argument from people on Twitter, whether you're talking about aesthetics of movies, or just what someone said and what you don't understand. Oh, you just never read this book. You never watched this movie. Go watch this person's interpretation of it. Therefore, you'll get what's actually happening in the story. You hear that all the time.
Like, you could make this argument for David Benioff, where, like, when you analyze, like, what he is actually saying, he's admitting that he is incompetent in his own words. Like, I legit do not know how to run a television show. Oh, like, he has said that, but he says it in such a way that is, like, so calm and reassuring, like, in terms of his tone. But when you actually analyze, like, what he's saying, he's an idiot.
Largely devoid of content, but...
You're trying to tell me Jordan Peterson is largely devoid of content? And Ben Shapiro is somehow empty? And David Rubin, like, probably the third most popular streamer? Doesn't know what he's doing? Are you serious? There's a reason why these guys are up there. That's why Ben Shapiro, I think, has the biggest one on, was it Daily Wire? He has the biggest podcast on whatever station he's a part of. There's reasons for this. There's reasons for popularity. I don't know any left-leaning... Are there left-leaning groups or streamers aside from the Young Turks?
I assume there is, because the internet's a big place.
Sure. I've never seen them. Does anyone know? I wish I knew.
Jack Saint.
Jack Saint?
What about him?
He's not a streamer, though.
Oh, streamer. No.
Wait. What was the question? I missed it.
Like, is there any left-leaning, aside from the Young Turks, any left-leaning popular news sites or streamers or anything like that is like...
news.
Streamer, yeah. The most popular left-wing streamer is Chank's nephew, yeah. Which is funny because everybody calls him that. Hassan the Hun. He's like, he thinks that he's Stalin because he looks in the mirror and thinks that he's pretty. That's his whole thing.
So it's a parody. It's a joke.
Does Vosh count?
No,
Vosh, you know what? There was an article I read that was actually from a leftist that said that Vosh and Shoe on Head were ruining the left because they were making them look bad. And I was like, excellent. Vosh is the worst thing to happen to the leftists since the fall of the Soviet Union.
Well, he's a clown. He's essentially just there to make you laugh. Everything else he says is either wrong or ridiculous. Like when he went on that,
Vosh got beaten by Destiny. It was embarrassing.
He got destroyed by Stefan Molyneux. Not that he wouldn't, but it was like he thought he won that. We're sitting like, did you even listen and comprehend what the man was saying?
He's like, you're moralizing right now, and then all he does is try and make moral arguments. So fucking basic bitch.
Vosh's YouTube channel, Aging Like Vomit.
Delicious.
Gosh, if they don't sound sure of themselves. And that mode can be very persuasive, but it doesn't stick the way a coherent argument does.
Really? Give me an argument.
It needs to be repeated, the affect replenished.
What the hell? What is this affect you're referring to? The effect of semantics, of sophistry? What exactly? The ethos?
I'm repeating myself because I'm coming up with 3 different examples as opposed to your one and explaining how X works, then I've made a stronger argument than you.
Yeah, if it's logos or ethos, fine. But if it's pathos, that's pretty obvious. It's like, yeah, he's being emotional or whatever, expressive. It's like, duh. Repeating it isn't going to change a thing.
I get the feeling he's comparing apples to oranges. He's comparing someone who has good comprehension and is paying attention when they're listening to someone on the left, and then somebody who is not critical thinking, not internalizing, just kind of listening to someone on the right, and then they can't repeat what the point of what they just listened to. That there's people like that on both sides in both categories. You know, there's people who don't really understand leftist ideology, or Marxism specifically or something, but they repeat the talking points. And then there's people on the right who are, think critically and listen and understand, and can even go beyond the original conversation, the original talking points.
Because everyone's different. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure people aren't going to be perfect. Yeah, but I'm not the best kind of person. If you put me on the spot with an argument, I'm not brilliant. I have to sit and I have to write stuff down. And I have to think how I'm going to connotate what I'm going to try and say in the most effective way possible. So in that sense, if you were to have an argument with me, I'd have to either have notes or rely on something I've heard previously as sort of like my fallback. There are people out there who are better at arguments that don't need to do that. They're good at just working off the cuff. Because everyone has a different skill set. It's funny how, people can be diverse like that. Yeah, he just needs to actually reference an argument or statement and say, okay, this is where a person who is right-leaning said something incorrect or false or had a fallacy. Fine, let's see that, please.
Because the words matter less than the delivery. There needs to be a steady stream of confident voices saying, we've got this shit figured out and everyone else is stupid.
No. That's what?
Oh, no!
Is he looking in the mirror at all and saying these things? Because when we listen to arguments, it's all logic, it's all reference, it's all evidence. Can you back up your claims?
Isn't that this video? This video is, we've got this figured out and everyone else is stupid.
Yeah, that's what this is. I'm just like, this is like, dude, I don't know if this is a thing they do every time. And I don't get it. Are all bread tubers blind to themselves or to arguments at all? Have they studied philosophy? Because we spoke to John. He actually studied philosophy, knew a little bit of logic, a little bit about history, empiricism. I don't think he's making massive political statements. He's just talking about art. He's just having a good time on YouTube and talking about the things he likes. People who study political science should be talking about politics. People who study philosophy could talk, like Stefan Molyneux. He could talk about politics. He doesn't have to, but it comes up now and again.
There's a good reason I try to avoid talking about politics as much as possible. I recognize that I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's definitely a good idea.
I don't know what I'm talking about either. I don't know much about it either. I'm just like, all of you people are idiots is just like based on like the only thing that I can see based on my limited knowledge.
And if this is...
that doesn't mean I'm here just because I don't understand how sort of politics and political divides work. Doesn't mean I don't have a place here where I don't belong here, because I'm still good at breaking down people's arguments. If you told me what happened on the election day of whatever year, I'm not going to know, or things behind the scenes I didn't know about regarding a certain election. I'm not going to know that because I didn't bother to research that because it's got no interest to me.
Yeah, that's Voice's opinion is so unacceptable by people that think that everything has to be political and everything, you know what I mean? Like everything has to be all a certain way.
Silence
I must be terrible to these people.
Yeah, silence is violence.
All right, we got
speech is violence.
10 minutes.
Everything is violence.
10 minutes to 9 o'clock. We'll try to finish this off at 25, maybe 26 minutes. Call it a night. Let's keep going.
Or notice the flaws. They are not well hidden. And the catch-22 of returning to that stream over and over is that these communities are stressful even as they are calming. People afraid that...
How do you mean?
That is... Oh my God.
Why is it stressful?
I hate these statements. It's like, it's good when it's bad. It's high when it's low. It's like, what are you talking about?
It's hot when it's cold. It's day when it's night.
Well, giving him the benefit of the doubt, there is such thing as a positive stressor. It's something that is, enjoyable, right? But does add stress. Add to your overall stress.
Sure.
He could be referring to that, So if you're constantly engaging in positive stressor activity, eventually you could be overloaded by it. But I doubt
he hasn't explained that. He hasn't qualified that.
I don't think watching a YouTube video would cause that sort of emotional response, or a measured galvanic response from your skin. I really don't think so.
If I wasn't enjoying a video for one reason or another, I'm probably not going to continue watching it.
Divergents go to forums with people who share and validate that fear, and also say, yes, you will die a virgin. People afraid Syrians are coming to kill us all watch videos by people who share and validate that fear, and also say, yes, Syrians are coming.
Are we talking about the war in Syria? What?
Who is this?
Oh, that's what's his name?
Thinking
he had his own talk show once.
It's Glenn Beck.
Glenn Beck, there you go.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's funny. Yes, Syrians are coming to kill us all. Like, no, the Syrians that are Syrian are fighting for Bashar. That's the joke.
They're not coming to America, guys. It's okay. Very far away.
If you want to know anything about Syrians, they have probably some of the best Mediterranean food out there. That's what I'm guessing. The Syrian places in LA are fantastic.
I've never gone to a Syrian restaurant, so I can't say.
Wait a minute. Is this guy? Are you telling me this guy is strawmanning his opposition? Say it isn't so.
No, his entire opposition is strawman. He lives in a kingdom of bullshit.
Others have already pointed out that rubbing your face in your worst anxieties is a form of digital self-harm. But I need you to understand the toxic...
I don't... What? Rubbing?
Toxic
recurrence, I think, is what he's saying.
I think any anxiety is going to be painful, but okay, sure. Yeah.
Version of Gabe is going to these communities to get upset.
What? What?
How can you prove it?
Who is this imaginary fellow again?
Well, okay. Again, in best case scenario, and I doubt this is the case, but if let's say he's talking about like Doomcock, whose end message is always "stay angry, my friends." You know, I doubt that he means exclusively people like that. I think he means all kinds of different people.
Well, when I encourage people to be angry, I say be passionate about what you love. That's why I made this channel, because I was so enthusiastic about what I believed in my fandom, and I disregarded or sort of tried to argue with other people. I couldn't take it anymore, so I did my own thing. And I encourage that for people to be passionate, so long as you know what the hell you're talking about. And that's why I surround myself with people who are either experts or people in a specific fandom that know the fandom, and they could reference pages or scenes of a game. Like, that's very important to me, so I can get things wrong sometimes. So that's what I encourage, being passionate about whatever you're interested in. So you could translate that as just being emotional, but I wouldn't say that's the point of Doomcock at all.
Well, ultimately, what Doomcock believes is that just like all meat, when you show disrespect, the best like course of act, the only like logical course of action is to be angry about the disrespect. The alternative is just lie down and take it.
Yes, you should always voice your problems especially with a fandom, with a product, what have you, because they don't know otherwise. The problem is the people that I would argue with, I don't know if they actually listened, but I do know they listened to the fan base in some capacity. And in this case, BioWare would just remove entire features, or put a giant lampshade over something with another DLC, or forget what the point of an ending is supposed to be. So there's all sorts of silly things that companies do to patchwork their product. And that's just how the market works. I'm not talking about specifically politics, because that's a whole other can of worms. But this is a healthy thing. You have to argue, and argue well.
Every emotion is converted into anger because sadness, fear, and despair are paralyzing.
That's right. They don't really work when you're trying to make an argument. You need rage. You need clarity of thought. You need focus.
I would say dispassion as much as possible. I'd say emotionlessness.
That is part of it, because once you get over the hump of pain and suffering and rage, all you have is focus. And you're laser focused on making a point and proving it. So it's not, if you delve into emotion, you're going to go nowhere. So you use emotion as your motivator, and then you produce something like a video or an article or a top 10 list or whatever, and you explain why.
But anger is motivating.
Yes.
Whatever his problems, there's always someone he can scapegoat for them. And Gabe feels less helpless when he's pissed off.
There are legit people who can and should be held responsible for screw-ups. Like, I hold Kathleen Kennedy and Ryan Johnson and J.J. Abrams responsible for the current state of Star Wars. And, like, a lot of people say, you're always saying Star Wars is dead. Like, no, Star Wars brand integrity has been utterly ruined going forward, as well as its story integrity. There's nowhere you can go now. It is utterly destroyed.
Yeah. Same with my arguments with Mac Walters, the writers of Mass Effect, and Casey Hudson, the director. Same thing. Like, it doesn't matter about the individual writers in the writer's room or the artists doing this or that. Those are the guys who were in charge of the franchise. They were the ones who pulled the strings. They signed the checks.
And so he's topping up on reassuring nonsense. He's also topping up on stress. And being cut off from everyone outside the network, the only place he...
This is not how arguments go. Okay, I've never been stressed talking to like-minded individuals about a topic we're passionate about. It's when you argue with unlike-minded individuals. That's when you're stressed, because they know almost as much as you do, but they get one detail wrong, and it throws their entire argument off, and you can't show it to them. They won't look at it, because it changes their entire outlook, and they won't accept it, or whatever the case might be. So that's what causes stress. When you're showing them evidence of why the indoctrination theory is a pile of crap. It doesn't exist. There's no evidence. They keep stressing, no, this is a master plan. It's genius writers in the writers' room. It's like, no. No, it's not.
Knows to go trace that stress is back to the place that gives it to him. It's a feedback loop, pulling him deeper and deeper on the promise that at some point, relief will come.
If I have been part of a group that makes me stressed, I tend to go away from that group or stop going to the meetings with these people. It's not fun anymore.
What is this? I don't understand what's the point? Where are we getting to? What's the end result?
He's becoming part of the alt-rights by arguing on 4chan, I think. I don't know.
It is a similar dynamic that keeps people in abusive relationships.
Are you kidding me? Are you
Me
kidding?
and Hitler in an abusive relationship. Hitler won't love me, and I love him so much.
I kill all the Jews. I don't know why I'm doing it, but Hitler likes it, so I keep doing it. What? What the hell? Have you met people in abusive relationships?
I think there's 15 more days of this nonsense.
This is. Oh my God. Okay.
Du bist dumm, Herr Alt-Right Playbook man.
So he's teaching us some psychology. I don't know from what book or school, but I guess we're learning something. Of course, Stefan Molyneux would talk about that, but he can't reference Stefan Molyneux. That would be bad.
I don't care.
When someone in Gabe's community makes a racist joke, they are presenting Gabe with a choice between the human interaction of laughing with his friends and his societal responsibility not to be a fucking racist.
Okay. Can't laugh at racist jokes, guys. It's not good for you. Society will hate you, this imaginary group of people that's not listening to the joke.
These animations are just so... I feel like I'm being talked down to so much.
It's okay to laugh at racist jokes. You could laugh at sexist jokes. You could laugh at any joke you want if you find it funny. That's the point of a joke, okay? What matters is context. If it's a bunch of friends, you're having a good time, have a good time, guys.
You have unread messages at your private terminal.
Oh boy, here's Dead Slash. Thank you, sir. In this video, he's done every single thing he said is a radicalizing tactic. I don't know all the radicalizing tactics of people who argue or how to convince people otherwise. I don't care. It's not what I'm interested in. I do marketing and I do positive things. Everything's positive, so I don't know the arguments for being weak and can you help me out with my my job and my career? Like, no, I don't know those. Or getting angry. Getting angry doesn't sell anything. I don't know about you, but it doesn't work that way. I imagine it doesn't work in normal arguments either.
Well, yeah. What is it? Anger is almost the antithesis, or it's antithetical to selling something.
Yeah.
Because generally speaking, when people are angry, they don't go out and buy something of the opposite. Generally speaking,
they buy something to solve the anger because whatever broke down or doesn't work. That's why they're angry. They need a solution. And here I have your solution. It's all in a bow. It's all working. You just plug it in and da-da.
And not things.
He mentioned before. Oh, sorry. I was going to say that he mentioned people before were they were marketing themselves or selling some kind of paraphernalia or whatnot. Anybody who's buying those things generally isn't angry. They are having a positive experience with that person. It's not they themselves are not angry while they're doing that. If they're always keeping their audience angry, they're not going to be able to sell it. And that is one of the things that he mentioned as part of the problem.
All right, folks, we've hit the 9 o'clock mark. We are at 3 hours. I think it's time to call it a night. We are
You have unread messages at your private terminal.
25 minutes and 40 seconds into the video. We're going to continue this at a later date. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Glib, thanks for saving us with all those wonderful descriptions of terms we've never heard about. Always nice to have.
It's deeply entrenched in the left versus right extreme ideology of socialism. Somewhere in there, it's the left versus the racialists who want individual nations to be either ethno-states or whatever it is that they want out of that, versus people that want international socialism. That's the dichotomy. And all of us, I assure you, are stuck in the middle somewhere. Because, yeah, there are people that want to be further right or further left. But I guarantee you that the amount of Nazis, actual Germans, worker, socialist parties are minuscule compared to just generic nationalists that don't want other people to control their nation. That's what I see.
Mm.
All right. Well, this Canadian... I'm sorry? Voice, you okay?
Sorry, I thought of a song when Glib said we were stuck in the middle.
Oh, you were singing. That's nice.
Well, I mean, I don't know, where would you be? In between these two absurdities, the idea of bringing back National Socialism versus wokeism, I guess. I don't know what to call the left nowadays. International globalism.
Okay, well, thanks for tuning in, folks. We appreciate your time. Hope we have another great, wonderful, semi-political, weird interpretation of videos next time. Not sure if it's going to be tomorrow or the day after, but pretty soon. And we'll talk to you.
Also, I was going to say, sorry to interrupt, chat. I discovered this evening, I have a paper miniature of me. I'm very happy because I didn't realize, but if you want a little mini paper voice to, sit on the corner of your desk, go check out efap.me. I have no idea why I have one, but I'm accepting it all the same.
Yes.
And I'm pretty happy about that for some reason.
I'm trying to find the link. I don't know.
So yeah, go check out efap.me and find the paper miniatures page. Scroll down, you'll find me there next to Little Potato Meme Creator.
All right.
There you go. Put it in chat.
There it is.
Yeah, you made it big time when you're a paper miniature.
There you go. Look out, Voice. You're hitting the top there.
Oh.
All right, gentlemen. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. I'll see you real soon, and have yourself a great evening.